Today's matchup. KT Rolster. Samsung. 2016 Coca-Cola Zero League of Legends Champions Korea Summer Playoff Round 1.
Hey guys, welcome to the LCK Summer Playoffs. I'm Doa, that's Monte Cristo, and that's Papa Smithy. And today, KT Rolster versus Samsung. Man, I feel like it's been so long since we saw this match. It's been almost like 5 days since these two teams have played each other. Do you think we're going to see any different results at all than what we saw on Saturday?
Well, historically, since the great combination of teams at the end of 2014, KT has a 16-0 game score.
It's pretty good.
Samsung, and therefore an 8-0 match score. I do think it is unlikely that Samsung will be taking a victory here tonight. Can they take a game? I don't know.
Maybe.
It'd be really cool to see them win Game 1, guys. That's the thing for me. And the thing about Samsung is, look, they beat 2-0, Afrika 2-0 very convincingly. They didn't have to show much. It was kind of a walk in the park for them. They still played the same style, though, even though it's patch 6.15. So the question is, were they able to hide strats? Do they actually have something new? Because KT Rolster, with the likes of Achani, the evil genius, I think, when it comes to coming up with new strategies, I bet they have something prepared for 6.15.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. And I mean, I think the new patch is kind of the big story here, because if you look at how these two teams match up traditionally, like you mentioned, it's 16-0, KT dominating the matchup, and if you look at, like, especially the top and jungle on each of these teams, KT, they have someday in score. It's just objectively better. So Samsung is going to need to have something, I think, very tricky, very patch-related, and beating Afrika Freaks, that's not too convincing to me. Afrika Freaks have made it tradition to lose in embarrassing fashion in the wildcard match.
Yeah, and Samsung, too, has had such a small amount of time to adapt. They did play on Saturday, and then they saw their first 6-15 professional game on Monday, and now they've only had one empty day of practice before hitting KT in this best of 5. So KT has at least had a couple more days dedicated to just practicing on this patch. We really didn't learn much about 6.15 on Monday, probably because of that short timeline.
Yeah, true enough. Well, here is how the gauntlet shakes out. Obviously, we saw that wild card match, Samsung versus Afrika Freaks. Samsung getting the 2-0 in that best of 3, but now we move into the best of 5s. It gets a bit more serious as KT takes on Samsung. Winner of today's match takes on SK Telecom on Friday, and then the winner of that match goes to play against the Rocks Tigers in the LCK Summer Grand Finals. And that should be really interesting, because although I think today we can safely say KT is probably going to win, they're certainly the huge favorites. SKT versus KT, if we end up with that, that's a little bit of different story. We really can't call that one quite as easily.
It was a bit like a year ago when KT looked more practiced coming into the finals of summer. SKT used their time away from the spotlight to really fix their mistakes and go up big, and they're going to need to do that. SKT lost to Longzhu convincingly, haven't looked the world champions for the past month or so.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit closer than it was last season. So like we mentioned, a best of 5 and a moment of silence for Blind Pick, which is no longer with us this year.
RIP.
All right, that was long enough. It's going to be a good match. You know, it may only be a good match for KT Rolster, but hopefully Samsung can put up a fight. I mean, if you're going to pick any time to start winning games in this rivalry between KT and Samsung, today would be the day for Samsung. Today's the day you got to do it.
Well, realistically, too, the change between 6-14 and 6-15 was huge. We're basically, the playoffs are basically in an entirely different meta right now, so it is very hard to make accurate predictions because we just don't know what's good. And even if one of the teams figures out something that's good, if they can use it and confuse the team and the enemy team in a game or two, that may be enough to take a series. So
anything can happen.
When you think of Samsung, honestly, they played their normal game on 6-15 in their last time, and Afrika kind of outthought themselves. Maybe the hope here is that KT goes protect the Draven, does something too crazy, because I think it has to be KT messing up more than Samsung having the tools to really come up big.
I agree, and there is KT Rolster, of course, perhaps in one of their best situations yet. And here they are walking in to the esports arena a little bit earlier tonight. This afternoon, I guess.
It's a cool flyby. I like it.
it was literally a flyby.
LOL.
삼성 아프리카 하는 거 개인적으로 흥성이가 맞습니다. 이겼으면 저희는 삼성이
Well,
올라오기를
this isn't
기다리고
translated at all, is it? So, let's keep talking.
당연하게도 저희가
KT,
항상
obviously
이기기
looking really good
때문에
here.
이기 자신이
Score,
넘칩니다.
obviously a big pillar of what makes
이기고
KT so good.
때문에
Him and Someday seems like they're kind of
그때 지지
holding this whole thing up.
그
It really is
자신감이
amazing
너무
when we look at
자만감이
Score and
될까 봐
Someday,
걱정이긴
how
한데
often they
그
combine for first blood, because at the moment, they are the highest first blood percentage players in this entire league. Number 1 and number 2 score at 57%, and Someday at 50%, and that's how they play. They get Someday ahead, and they get large gold leads in the process in the early game.
That duo is the big discrepancy between the two teams, Cuvée and Ambition. Ambition's had a great season. Cuvée hasn't even been the starter for some of the recent games. They've been messing around with running Helper. We might see Helper later in the series, but he won't be playing game 1.
And what amazes me is not only those first blood percentages for Score and Someday, but the team first blood percentage is at 73%. So in nearly 3/4 of their games, KT is getting first blood. And if we compare that to the number 2 team in this league, Longzhu is only at 56%. So this is a team that likes to be aggressive early, and whether it's Score and Someday or other members of the team, they are able to rack up the early kills.
Yeah, good in first blood, but interestingly lacking in other things like dragon control. But it hasn't really held them back, has it?
It's really the first dragon that they suffer with. They are pretty good on overall dragon control, but it's about that gold. Number 1 in the league at gold difference in 15 minutes. So.
And there is Samsung, of course, coming off of that win against Afrika Freaks. And here's them walking into the arena. They took the elevator, guys. They didn't walk up 14 flights of stairs. Don't worry.
They didn't want to get their workout in before.
That's right.
I guess.
It's fun to talk about the story of Samsung. Obviously came off that big World Championship win in 2014. Completely new squad. Started off as one of the cellar dwellers, and then it's been a big evolution for them as this is their first playoffs after the change and with this new kind of organization.
You know, it's something to really mention, too, as we move towards World Championships, is that Ambition on Samsung is one of probably the best players in Korea to have never made it to a World Championship.
I think he's the best player in the world to have never made it to a World Championship, actually. I think it's tough to debate that given the length of his tenure in League of Legends and the prestige. He's been a WCG winner.
Yep. That's a world title.
He hasn't been to a World Championship hosted by Riot.
Yeah, not yet, but maybe, just maybe, we'll see it happen this year. Of course, there is the squad for today. No Core JJ. Really? I'm so not shocked about that.
Yeah, but the thing about Samsung is if there's one player that has to carry them through this, it's Crown. Right now, he sits atop the standings in terms of being the overall top player when it comes to doing the highest percentage of damage for his team. At 31.8% of his team's damage is done by Crown. So he's the guy who has to put on his carry pants today if they're going to succeed.
Yep.
But stats like that kind of have to be taken under a microscope a bit. KT doesn't have someone leading the damage. They have quite a flat damage distribution, but that means that 4 players are chipping in, and obviously not so much damage from Hachani, but it's much more of a team effort for damage, whereas Samsung, very Crown focused.
Well, taking a look at the previous results from this team here, obviously KT Rolster doing really, really well in the last stretch of the season.
Yeah, they've won their last 6 consecutive, but if we look at it, their 3 losses before that were to the rest of the playoff teams in Africa SKT and the Rocks Tigers. So we'll see if they can bounce back if they do end up hitting the next round.
That said, Samsung, kind of similar in a way that they were losing to pretty much everybody above them in the league and beating everybody below them for the most part.
And it's pretty damning, especially because they just came off the loss to KT, where KT exposed many of those flaws, as we're going to see if they go for a similar strategy here in Pick and Ban.
Well, that's what really makes it so hard to believe that Samsung's going to have a chance to win today, because we did just see these teams play each other, and KT really looked like they knew exactly what it took to take Samsung down.
And KDA's give you a window. Ambition more than doubled by score in terms of KDA. Score #1 player in the league for KDA from the jungle is a very impressive feat.
Very true. Comparing the junglers as well, Ambition has been pretty good this season, but he's not been score.
And the big 2 contested junglers on your screen. It was 2 more games of Gragas for Ambition in their last series, so 7-2, 8-1. Very high win rates on both these picks. They've been the most played. The win rate's lower for Ambition, but he has played 16 games of Rek'Sai already in summer.
So how do you think that's going to affect the pick and ban? Because we've got such a big threat in Someday and Crown as well on the KT side. How do you approach this one? Who do you try to target?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think Samsung messed up in their last series. They tried to target Someday, and Someday's champion pool is much more like an ocean. I think you ban out Fly. I think you really try to hold down Fly. He's got the Aurelion Soul, he's got the Talia that maybe other people in the league don't play as well as he did. Last season it was about banning the Zillion. Maybe you even have to ban that here, but I think Fly is someone you can ban out, and Someday categorically is not.
I think Fly will just go ahead and take the Victor, because if we actually think about the most played champions for both Crown and Fly, it is Victor. So if they go for that strategy, and they are going to, they didn't ban out Aurelion Sol or Talia in their last match, and they have changed up that strategy. But KT, now Someday has not played a game of Gangplank this season. So taking it away, I think a really good call, because that's the one difference between his and Cuve's champion pool.
And also you think about the overlap in the champion pools between Cuve and Someday. It's not massive, but in their previous series between these 2 teams, they're banning Gnar and Echo, Samsung was, against Someday, which actually really hurts Cuve's champion pool more than it hurts Someday in my estimation. So banning top lane, I think it's a losing strategy for Samsung.
Yeah, and you are going to see the Trundle banned here too, because Cuve does want to take a tank. It was played in Game 2 of their last series, and Cuve not a Trundle player himself. Varus and Lissandra. So the Lissandra played in both games by Samsung against Africa and blind picked as well. So they don't want to give Crown that confident pick.
Makes sense to first pick the Rek'Sai after the Gragas is banned out. Samsung, though, getting some options. Important note, Aurelion Sol is available for Fly if he wants to take it. He wrecked Samsung with it in their last match.
One of the big bans was Malzahar as well. That's been banned against both these mid laners, but predominantly Fly, who was playing it before even the Mage rework. Malzahar wasn't available the last series between these 2 teams, but is available here.
Sure enough. So Tom Kench and Ashe picked up for Samsung.
Pretty standard stuff on the red side. We do have Braum available in this patch, so there is some disengage available to deal with the China Crystal Arrow. In the previous patch, 6.14, you kind of were forced to take the Tom Kench as the answer to the Ashe Arrow, but Braum is a bit of flexibility, and will we finally see that Aurelion Sol pick? It'll be your first time casting it, Doe, you were mentioning on Twitter.
It's so weird. I have still yet to cast an Aurelion Sol game, and if he locks in the Vlad, I guess I might have to wait a little bit longer, but we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Now, this is interesting to me because with the Malzahar still available, there's a possibility that we have seen the Malzahar as a counter pick to the Vladimir. So keeping that in mind.
Now, Crown is the one who played Vladimir in both of the last games that Samsung and KT played against each other. Interesting to see Fly grab it this time around. And will we see Crown respond by picking the Aurelion Sol?
Certainly not a champion that he's played. And they are just going to take the Gnar blind pick, most likely for Cuve.
You look down KT's lineup, it's very much team fight from the Sivir and Vlad in the second round especially. We were wondering, would we see another team mess around with poke? Afrika in game 1 went for a heavy poke comp, didn't play it that well, but given that that first turret blood is a factor in this patch, I thought maybe teams would experiment with that.
Hold up, we have a new term for this.
Okay.
It does first blood for a turret just doesn't make any sense, so we're gonna call it first brick.
I like it.
All right, the first
brick. Yep, you get first brick. And so Echo and Braum taken by KT to round out that team.
No surprises here. Someday's been exceptional on the Echo, and Braum has been the primary pick this season for both Hachani and Wraith. And as we look at this too, the Tom Kench coming back out, they picked in both games against Africa, and Wraith got MVP in one of those games, was very impressive.
And you touched on the Echo pickup for some days. Actually, Korea undefeated on the Echo, 7-0, the longest win streak of any Korean player. So it's been a fearsome pick. 6 of those games this season. He was the one who innovated Trinity Force top lane Echo, and he looks damn good doing it.
Yep, and this Echo just will not go away. And, you know, when it's working out as well as it is for players like Someday, you know, why should it?
Someday has looked amazing on this pick. Both his Gnar and his Echo this season have been jaw-dropping, to say the least, and he'll be very comfortable against QV in this matchup, and that's the question is, even though we do see some harassment here from the Gnar and the Elise, will Score and Someday be able to overcome and do what they do, which is get first blood?
Well, they're going to have to do what they've been doing all season long, and you know, why stop now? Especially against a team that has never beaten you, even in a single game.
In 2 years.
In 2 years, yeah.
And you look at the draft, both teams are playing teamfight comps, so theoretically the team that gets the better start is going to go on to win it because they pair up so evenly, and that's been KT 16 out of 16 times. So unless Samsung can really throw a curveball in the early game, KT looking solid.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, and again, you know, the fact that the lane swaps don't quite work like they used to, or maybe just don't work at all.
Don't work.
Changes things quite a bit. You know, I mean, now maybe we have that delayed lane swap where they just wait for a little while. Who knows? Who knows? We're learning right along with, well, hopefully the players aren't learning. Hopefully they've figured something out.
I really don't think they have.
No.
Like, not with the amount of time they've had to practice on this patch.
Might be tricky. Well, KT looking to make it 17-0 against Samsung in game score. Let's see if they can make it happen here in game number 1 of the LCK Summer Playoffs. Time to get in the game. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift, Samsung versus KT Rolster. Winner goes on to play against SK Telecom on Friday. Best of 5 to decide who lives and who dies. Well, maybe that's a little bit too serious. Who lives and who goes home in shame. How about that? A little bit better? I think so.
Great shame.
You, spider blood. I wouldn't want that.
Well, whoever loses at least still has a chance at the World Championship through the gauntlet, but
True.
Of course, both of these teams, the only real way they can punch their ticket to Worlds in the playoffs is by winning this entire season. Very important, impactful for both of these teams.
Any result other than Samsung or KT winning the season means that SKT will get that second guaranteed slot, even if Rox Tigers are to win the whole thing. Defensive fan is, as expected, it's a new patch. People haven't really investigated the level 1 strategies to a great degree, so very much defensive starts for both teams.
Yep.
Someday fans, right.
Hard not to be a Someday fan.
He just has had such an amazing second round robin, and we'll see what he can do in a matchup that should be highly favored towards him, at least in terms of skill between him and QV.
You say highly favored, and one thing that we will notice is Someday has actually changed his keystone, not gone for the fervor of battle, so he's at least respecting the fact that the ranged opponent's going to get a lot of free harass. It's going to be fervor of battle for the Gnar, and it's going to go back to the grass for that little bit of extra sustain, because the early level is going to be painful for the Echo.
Yeah, certainly not a preferential champion matchup, a preferential player matchup.
Oh, easily, yes.
Yeah.
To clarify.
Definitely is a preferential player matchup, that's for sure. Wraith and Rulu, though, putting some pressure onto Arrow and Hachani down to the bot lane.
Got a little harassment done on the walk back in to the lane, so Hachani and Arrow are going to have to play back. Is a bit surprising still, even though Sivir, of course, very good at the wave clear. Not typically as good in most of these long-range 2v2s. Score seen by a hawk shot here, heading through the Drake pit and over to the Scuttle Crab.
Yep, that might give Arrow and Hachani a little bit of breathing room, as Ruler and Wraith might want to back up just a bit, but nope, Wraith going up just to check out that River Rush, just to make sure that Ruler's safe. Meanwhile, Fly taking some pretty heavy poke early on here.
Yeah, just going to be able to sustain through the Vladimir lanes, go pretty predictably, given how much sustain you can get through those laning phases.
That guy's already surrendered. Oh wait, no, that's a Samsung flag.
I was more interested in the other guy who was flagged for explicit content with his T-shirt.
Wow.
Probably shouldn't be showing that on TV.
That's true. He definitely looks pretty edgy. Look out for that guy. Holding his hands with his girlfriend, man.
In Korea.
Intimidating stuff.
Last time we saw these two teams meet was Score getting first blood in both games, as his stats suggest. So saw him paying a bit of visit to mid, but we'll just back away and probably take the blue buff for himself, I guess, because Vladimir is certainly not craving any cooldown reduction this early.
True. Ambition running into the enemy jungle now. And how is Ambition going to do against Score? Well,
They're going to find each other very soon.
I was going to say, history has told us that Ambition does suffer from time to time, and he may be in trouble here, actually.
Oh, boy.
Yep, Praise
Nar's
Seeker comes
coming.
in, Fly collapsing as well. Kube coming down to try to help the jungler. Score flashes for the knockup. Stunned. Ambition still very low as Someday comes in to finish this one off. First blood goes over to that Echo, and they may get two here. Flashing for the follow. The gravity field slows up Score. Someday in trouble now. Crown picks up a kill. Score trying to at least get one more. Oh, but Achani comes in with the Q for the kill, and Score alive for the moment, but no, now that's a double for Crown. Looks like in the end, though, this messy fight is going to be, what was that, 2 on each? No, 2 on
Two
KT
for three.
and 3 on Samsung, I believe, yeah. All right, well, that was action-packed.
It certainly was, and the collapse there faster from the Gnar, and in fact, looked like there was a bit of miscommunication there from KT. Scorer didn't see that one coming in, but Echo gets there in time. They do overextend just a little bit right there, but the kill on Someday in that unfavorable matchup going to be nice for him, and overall, an advantage for KT. And two teams this season that have not been afraid to skirmish and get incremental advantages on these skirmishes have been KT and the Rocks Tigers.
So much credit to Hachani being on the first one on the roam, and Siva hasn't fallen behind in CS as well, so Hachani got the free roam, bit of extra gold to accelerate. You have to imagine the Sightstone, and good mindset from the support. Spares the blushes of KT that tried to play it really tricky. That's why Vladimir reacted so slowly. They didn't want to give away that they had the extra information with Score waiting. End up 3 for 2 though, so advantage KT.
Yeah, absolutely. And those incremental advantages, I mean, that's really been the story of Someday's season, right? KT just does things that get him like a little bit ahead over and over again until he becomes this unstoppable force.
I mean, the statistics for KT this season are insane. I mean, rounding it out, the #1 team for kills, Monty mentioned already, #1 for gold difference at 15, so they're really running the early game. But other stats, Arrow #1 in kills, Achani #1 in assists, Score #1 in overall KDA and First Blood, Someday #2. They've been doing really well in the early game, but then you look at the Drakes and like, okay, they're not prioritizing Drake. You look at First Turret, which is always a sign that you're being proactive in the early game. They're not really taking First Turret. What they prioritize is getting Someday ahead. So frequently, he has a 30, 40 CS gold lead. Now that's normally in lane swaps, so we're in a world of standard lanes. That number might go down. But otherwise, they're going to focus on getting the preferential lane matchup and, theoretically at least, Score ganking his lane to allow him to open up those same CS advantages.
Yeah, that gold advantage, too, has to come through dives now more often than not.
Sure.
But we've seen that plenty of times in standard lane from KT.
Yeah.
Score and Someday handily winning the 2v2. So Someday, too, is just, he does a huge amount of damage as a top laner, second only behind Expression in terms of percentage of his team's damage, and also takes a whole lot of that gold, but that's their game plan, is play around Someday with his champion pool and his skill. Because Someday, unlike Duke, is not only a lane monster, but has a much better sense of where to be on the map and win, and that is KT's bread and butter, is coordination around team fights, knowing how to work together. And it's a more equal team than many that we see here in Korea.
True.
Then you think of how Samsung won a lot of their series this season. It was mid to late game team fighting. So then again, we talk about the overlap. Two teams, both of them strong in the team fighting phase this game, both of them drafting team fighting comps. So you have to look for those X factors, and Someday, especially against his lane opponent Cuvée, is the big X factor between these two teams and Score. He's been the proactive jungler, and as recent as the previous series between these two teams, we saw Ambition picking up the Rek'Sai, being really reactive, and Score making the plays around the map that benefited Someday the most.
Yeah. In the end, KT Certainly had a little bit stronger of a team fight. Here come Wraith and Ruler, though. Maybe trying to set things up for a dragon take. The Ocean Drake. Pretty nice if you're getting poked, but other than that, not super imperative to take that early on.
It's probably not going to be much of a factor in this game, the Ocean Drake, considering that we're going to be seeing so many all-in 5v5s with these team compositions. Obviously very helpful in lane, but when it comes to the late game, it will be one of the less impactful Drakes. Yep. We're going to be going forward early, though, and that probably will really help its benefit, particularly for Someday in that matchup of melee versus range.
Yeah, look at where his tunnel is. He just barely snuck in there outside of the vision that Samsung has, so they have no idea this is going down.
Got the standard Tiamat first, so even though not the tankiest, and will take damage from it, picks it up very safely.
Yeah. So it is nice to have that dragon, at least. Not, again, you know, super important, but it is nice. Someday, though, getting pretty low. Got to be careful. Someday just 1v1 by Kube. Wow.
Someday didn't feel like using his Chrono Break, I guess. That was a little weird.
Yeah, or his flash.
Or his flash. I guess he just miscalculated the amount of damage that was going to be done to him.
Apparently.
We've seen this before, though, Monty. More in spring season than summer, but Someday sometimes really gets in his head. He said this in interviews that I need to carry. I need to be the difference. And he looks for those aggressive 1v1s, and sometimes he gets punished, just like, of all people, Cuve has just done.
Yeah. That was really the story of KT for Worlds last year, too, because he came out of the summer season as the overall regular season MVP, but when he had to face the Rocks Tigers and it was the 1v1 between him and Smeb in the quarterfinals, he really didn't deliver.
I mean, you say that, but he actually got the early first blood, got the gold, and then died twice in lane, 1v1. So they can have those polarizing performances, but he's been a model of consistency, especially recently.
Yeah, very surprising, but QV will take it, his first kill of the game.
Yep, not the end of the world for KT, but definitely a little bit puzzling.
Now Samsung with a TP advantage, they can really try and make something of this edge that they've managed to get over KT in the early part of this game, if they can figure out a place to make a play or a dive on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, a lot about this team from KT is Someday applying pressure and Vlad and Sivir farming. Vlad and Sivir hit their peak at 2-3 items. Under the turret here.
Oh, Someday going back in again. He's still got that flash. He may have to use it. Score was right there, so maybe a little bit of a miscommunication about when Score was coming in, but Ruler. It doesn't work out. Ruler now in a little bit of trouble. Arrow exhausted. Ruler flashing away. Looks like he's going to live through this one. Wraith has plenty of health yet, if you include that shield, so nobody going to go down there.
Yeah, the play actually, Score was seen with a nice hawk shot from Ruler, so Samsung was well aware they were coming in. Someday picked up turret aggro a little bit early and then missed the parallel convergence shield.
I see.
So it was a miscommunication, also a little bit of misplays here. KT not really rounding out that strong early skirmish with more impressive play, dropping the ball on a couple of different occasions.
Yeah, Score gets caught up by the cocoon. Need to be a little bit careful, but Fly is right there to make sure there's not going to be any collapse from Samsung. Good amount of damage on that first turret up in top lane.
While there's a lot overlapping between the two team comps, the one differing factor is around this point, the moment Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes available, they have Ash Arrow and they have Gnar with a teleport advantage. This is the one phase of the game where KT during laning phase can make really impressive 3-4 man plays in the bot lane. It's a window for Samsung to actually make those plays now before KT really get the scaling going on, because 2-3 item Vladimir and Sivir, you know how those team fights are going to go from there. I want to see Samsung make some aggressive plays, use that arrow and the Gnar teleport. Otherwise, if you just end up getting casually outscaled, you kind of only have yourself to blame.
Yeah. Well, Someday actually behind in CS to Kube, though, right now. A little bit surprising again to see.
Well, he does have the short end of the stick in that matchup, and also did some CS by dying. Great pop into lane.
All right, so Sivir has to be used. And Johnny in a lot of trouble. Ambition coming down to help with the gank, and an easy kill for Samsung there.
Really nicely done. That's the sort of play I was looking for. Don't even have to invest the teleport. That channel time on the Abyssal Voyage being shortened is the real MVP in that situation, allowing Ambition to get to the back line, and nice kill from Samsung.
Yeah, Johnny didn't even have time to use his summoners right there, thanks to the chain CC. Someday.
Oh, wow, another 1v1. Are you kidding me?
Flash and his Chrono Break up again Someday.
This is very bizarre.
the pressure seems to be getting to him. Again, he's had those interviews where he talks about pressure and thinking that he has to perform. This is a matchup that he should be so confident in, but...
Well, it's a matchup that he's crushed multiple times this season already, and now he dies twice in lane in the 1v1 with both his ult and his flash up. I don't know what's going on.
And the thing about using that chrono break too is, in the first part, maybe he's afraid of the jungler being there, but he literally knew that Ambition was just on the bottom side of the map, so there is not going to be any backup and any waste of his ult right there. But regardless, should have used it in both situations. And Samsung coming through, and when we look at Wraith and this Tom Kench, he was MVP because his Abyssal Voyage plays were so good.
Yeah, Ruler in trouble now, getting ganked. Braum ultimate comes in. Wraith picks up his AD carry, tries to deliver him to safety, gets stunned, but it's going to be enough distance. Ruler will make it out.
Really worrying for KT. They were relying on Someday to have lane pressure to allow Vladimir and Sivir to go even and scale up. Now that we're seeing solo kills from the Nard, the hopes for lane pressure are dead. Only so much Score can do. We're seeing Ruler go aggressive here.
Yeah, Ruler throws the Ash Arrow in, hits
Ambition.
Tiny with it. Exhaust onto Arrow to slow him down. Let's see if Ambition can land a cocoon. Arrow pops out on the hunt, loses his support in the meantime. Someday comes down and grabs a bit of revenge kill under the turret.
That's actually really smart from Someday. He ulted the moment he got the kill so he could get back to lane. Cuvée obviously has to recall and walk up, so he's going to get CS lead from doing this. Nice play from Someday.
Well, he also has a Trinity Force with that turret, so Someday really coming through there, just walks on by, takes out Wraith, and that ultimate with the Trinity Force will allow him to get that turret gold, and that is 650 local gold in the pocket.
Yeah, that is a big turnaround for Someday now.
I mean, consider that. That's 2 kills worth of gold. 300 is, of course, before bounties come into play. The standard amount of gold, so that evens it up. He's actually ahead in gold against a Na who's just solo killed him twice.
He got the first brick.
First brick is his.
And the first brick is made of gold. Literally.
It's a lot of gold. It's worth 2 kills.
It's gold brick.
Score back here now.
All right, Score manages to smite away the Cloud Drake, so KT does manage to secure both of the early Drakes in this game. Not hugely impactful, although Cloud Drake pretty nice as far as map movement goes these days.
Both of the games between these two teams, again, less than a week ago, was super one-sided, but we do have a series, or at least a game here so far, so good to see Samsung at least good so far in the early game, even if it was a lot to do with Someday overextending in top.
Yeah, he's got a kill, though. He just has to not die in the 1v1 again.
He went back and bought Merctress, doesn't help him that much against Cuvée.
All right, Score and Ambition coming up. No turret now for Cuvée to use to stay safe. Ambition turning things around. Here comes Crown. Fly, both mid laners are there. And Score sticks around a bit too long to go after that ward, and he may pay for it. Fly gets the Chaos Storm dropped on him. He's going to have to retreat. And now Wraith nearby. Both supports coming up to the mid lane to see what they can do.
Bit sloppy there by KT. Score sticking around for that ward actually caused Fly to use his Ghost, which he hadn't used. Crown had been forced to use Ghost to just make it up to that lane in time to defend. So they could have come away with a summoner advantage there. Instead, they don't even get a ward, and they match the summoner. Still not a disaster, but just not very clean play from KT.
All used by Crown too, but it's not on a very long cooldown, so it's not going to make a huge difference.
Do consider the fact that although it feels like Samsung has had the run of the first 16 minutes, KT are ahead in gold and have the 2 Drakes. They're both team fighting comps.
Yeah.
The disasters are averted to a great degree for KT, but Samsung at least competitive early in this match.
Yeah, but competitive by their own merits or by Someday kind of making mistakes.
I think.
What do you think?
Definitely more of the latter there, but still Samsung have played pretty organized League of Legends, and KT have made some mistakes, you know, both on Score in that last skirmish and Someday more visibly in the top line.
Ocean Drake coming up next. And so we'll see who ends up grabbing that. Samsung needs to kind of keep the momentum going here if they want to have a chance of winning this game.
KT2, I think while both comps would be good in the late game, I do think you give the slight edge to KT's composition. They don't have the Elise, so you have the Rek'Sai, who is more impactful in late game team fighting. Both with Vladimir and the Victor really putting out a lot of damage. Sivir, a little bit higher damage output. And when there's so much AoE on KT, the Tom Catch is not that big of a deal because sure, he'll be able to save one person, but everybody's going to get hit by the Hemo Plague and ricochets, so not really that that important.
If you do compare the...
Oh, Crown is in a little bit of trouble. Braum ultimate used. He's going to get juggled. He's going to get taken out. In a minute. You wait for it. No, he stays alive. Hachani now the one fighting for his life. Fly exhausted. Score trying to slow up Samsung here to save his support. Arrow backing away after he loses a duel with Ruler. And somehow, some way, everybody lives through that.
Wow.
Insane that no one died. It was a flash heal from Ruler.
Maybe we spoke too soon. Someday going after Kuve. Fly coming up to help out. Kuve a little ways away from the Meganar. He's getting close, though. Someday low. Yeah, you got to back away, especially with that Meganar coming up now.
Yeah, flash heal from Ruler to save his mid laner. Big investment, but necessary. No one dying, even on the back end, is crazy, though.
Well, Hachani got so low in that fight, too.
Yeah, Score had to flash on Burrow just to save him, but they left Crown for dead because he had the Hemo Plague on him and very small amount of HP. But Ruler there with the save. That has been one of Ruler's strong points, even as a rookie player this season. Has been reading his team's movements and being able to show up for team fights. Has a pretty good amount of map awareness when it comes to joining skirmishes compared to most rookie AD carries.
Man.
Back at it, though.
Yeah, blue buff, contested. Score gets wrapped up. Chani trying to help out his jungler. Fly there, and we'll see who's able to claim this one. Looks like it will go over to KT. Who got it, though? Looks like, I think Score.
I think Ambition got it.
Yeah, maybe actually Samsung did get it. Thought I saw the gold pop above KT, but could have been wrong.
It's still not ideal for it to be going on to the jungler. Crown really wants that to match the wave clear. Fly is getting closer and closer to 5 points and is tied to blood. Will be able to match Victor in his famous line wave clear just fine.
Yeah. Meanwhile, up at the top lane, CS still very even between these two.
Juve's going double laning items, so he's not trying to build just for team fights. Will be Black Cleaver and Frozen Mallet. Ruler will be the big beneficiary there. Already has the Hurricane, so armor penetration from the Wallop and the skills from the Gnar will certainly synergize with the Ashe's damage.
Yep. And Fly just farming in mid. Again, like CS is so even across the board with these two teams, actually.
Fly understands that the one difference between the two team fighting comps is that KT doesn't really have initiation. Sure, they have a Sivir ult, but there's no Gnar ultimate. There's no Ashe arrow, so Ghost Flash Proto Belt might have to be the initiate from the Vladimir of all people.
You've got Braum, I guess. Yeah. If he gets a good Glacial Fissure, that can do it.
Chani actually has been doing a good job of initiating with Braum, but it has cost Flash, and that's where you really have to look, is that KT is much more Flash reliant for their engages, whether it's Rek'Sai or Chani, while Samsung, as you noted, does have the Ashe arrow.
Very true. Poking around. Dragon getting pretty close to coming up. It is another Ocean Drake.
At this point, Samsung kind of have to deny stacks away from KT rather than necessarily the Ocean Drake being the relevance there, because Elder Drake with 3, 4, 5 stacks is going to be a big amount of damage in late game team fights.
Certainly could be.
Cube actually went to the mid lane quite early, and he's returning back as the wave is pushed up as the Drake went wide. So the Cube actually dropped down to the team fight about 15 seconds before he should have, and it actually has cost him position on the map right now. Someday will be the one able to run over here and maybe get a TP advantage if they do decide to go for the Drake.
They don't have really any great wards around the Drake either, do Samsung, so you're not necessarily seeing Gnar flank wards set up for them yet.
Yeah, Score going over the wall. After
Killed
Ambition.
those spiderlings.
I guess so, yeah. The combo. Smash with Hachani coming in onto Wraith now. They're going to get the passive popped. Wraith stunned for just a moment, Score nearby, but Arrow's got to be careful. He can't take too much damage if they really want to contest his Dragon. Ambition repelling away.
You Sivir ult already.
Yep,
wow,
right.
one-man Hemo play.
Jeez,
that
I
is
don't know
not
if
how
that
you want to
was-
use that.
Yeah, I don't think that was worth it, especially with the Dragon coming up. That seriously hurts KT's ability to team fight.
He thought that Score would come in, but actually Score was stunned up by the Victor W and so couldn't move out. Didn't have Flash either to go for an aggressive pick. So Hema Plague wasted, Sivir ult wasted. Suddenly, you have to have some pause if you're KT about starting this Drake before those cooldowns are up, and that's why Samsung just rushes it down.
All right, Samsung grabs their first Dragon of the game.
Yeah, they got 2 ultimates there out of KT, and so KT making the next best decision, which is to go for a tier 2 turret or at least some of the damage on it, but sort of outplaying themselves right there. And the Hemo Plague is incredibly important to KT's late game team fighting, because what you want is to get the extra 10% damage for Sivir ricochets. be hugely, hugely damaging, but you have to be able to use that combo properly.
I mean, 10% of unbelievable damage in the late game. 10% extra is just crazy for the Sivir.
It's gravy, man. It's gravy, Papa Smithy.
Okay, it's gravy.
That's what she turns her opponents into when she has that. That's right, gravy.
Interesting that we see Rapid Fire Cannon as a second item on Sivir. That's a bit of a rarity.
Suppose Arrow just a little bit afraid of getting close to any fight.
I mean, also for turret sieging, they don't really have any ranged auto attackers, just the Vladimir. So at least that first auto attack onto a turret, so poking it out over time is a bit safer for the Sivir with that item.
Meanwhile, in mid lane, things again still pretty even. Fly, though, has not yet died this game.
GA second on Sunday.
Wow.
We'll probably see GA third on Cuvée because that's been the popular Gnar build, has been Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver into GA. But Sunday with, he's been prioritizing GA, but never really this early.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's a very even amount of damage in terms of magical and physical on the side of Samsung. He'd love to build just like a Spirit Visage or something like that, but he's already getting pounded in lane, and now it's double laning items from Cuvée, so kind of splitting the difference, but a lot of that gold spent is going to be the Guardian Angel passive or the revive, so needs to be careful not to waste that.
Yeah. We're kind of gravitating towards mid lane right now.
Which is interesting, but
Yeah.
Samsung can't actually stack up mid because they are pushed back in two of their side lanes. Sunday here just covering, and that's one of the real big strengths that we talk about, especially when KT is playing a really good solo Talia. But covering lanes and maintaining pressure is one of the biggest factors that KT has when it comes to winning games, is that they never really release the minion pressure on the lanes because they're so good at moving around the map and just pushing minion waves while the other team members recall.
That doesn't sound like a significant point, but what it usually means is that KT are just getting access to CS that's dying to enemy turrets for other teams. So just that smart rotation means that that's one of the big reasons why they have the biggest goal difference at 15 is that no CS goes wasted for KT Rolster.
Oh boy, that turret bot lane's going to go down.
It also creates situations like this where Samsung is scrambling here because KT is pressuring bottom turret and blue buff at the same time, and they're going to get both.
Well, Score got the blue buff, but he may pay for it. Glacial Fissure used. They're going to get the kill on the Score, or rather Hachani giving his life for his jungler.
Cuvée wasted the teleport. He was exhausted during it, thought he had to clean up some kills, but there was no overinvestment from KT, so now Sunday does have that teleport advantage.
Still a closer game than I think we expected here.
Well, Samsung looked good against Africa. Played some clean League of Legends. Certainly Africa didn't put up much of a fight, so it was a little bit hard to tell.
It was.
In that scenario, how good Samsung actually was in the playoffs. But today, we've seen some nice play, especially from Wraith.
Yeah.
The KT have kind of given them, and Sunday in particular, have kind of given them a reprieve in the early game. And if you went to Samsung and said, hey, do you want to come into the game 25 minutes in, even in gold, they'd take it every time. Because it's been, again, the playmaking of Score and Sunday and their high first blood rate that has opened up games for KT. Otherwise, both these teams known for their late game team fighting, and it seems like we might actually have pretty even footing 30-35 minutes in.
We certainly will. First turret of Samsung's game finally going down up at top. Another about 2 minutes until the Ocean Drake comes up. Probably not going to see a whole lot of action until then.
Man, 3 Ocean Drakes already.
Yeah.
An Infernal Drake may actually just entirely change the outcome of this game.
Well, it's going to have to be either Cloud Drake or whatever the third one is after this.
Infernal Drake, let's go.
Yeah. Fun time. We will see. KT starting to grab a little bit of vision around that Baron too. I mean, that's something else they can kind of use. If Samsung wants to commit to that Dragon, KT can threaten the Baron.
Both teams have good Baron damage, so it is a realistic objective, especially 27 minutes in. The trend recently was those 22, 23-minute Barons, but it's been so even so far this game that we haven't seen it.
Fly using the Proto Belt just for more poke or something, it looked like on Crown.
Short cooldown though, so he'll have it up by the time any real dragon fight breaks out, one would assume, and Score
should be.
They tied up and drawn right back in by the gravity field. Don't follow up though. Crown not getting baited into using his Chaos Storm too early.
Chaos Storm will certainly do some damage to the backline. It's selfish magic resist choices from KT. 3 Spirit Visages, but no sign of a Locket. There already is Locket completed for Tom Kench. So Victor especially can do a whole lot of damage to Arrow. Might be able to pop him instantly if the spell shield's on cooldown.
As Sonya's just actually completed. Fly had that Seeker's Arm Guard, so major item pickup here, 10 seconds before Drake spawns.
There's no ambiguity about Fly's plan in team fights. Ghost Flash, Proto Belt in with Sivir ult, and then you have the ability to reset aggro with both the pull and the Zhonya. So it's initiation, Vladimir.
Uh-oh, Score caught. Going over the wall, that was a tense moment. They got him with the cocoon, but he managed to make it out. Still not the champion you want poked out right before Dragon comes up.
Samsung has to act fast, though, because otherwise the minion wave will be pushed into their tier 2 and bottom.
Oh, they're getting it so fast. So teleport coming in for KT, Kuvi coming down from the top. Dragon taken by Samsung. 2-man Hemo play from Fly as he pulls away. KT coming down the river now. Kuve untouched. The backlines. Fly goes deep. Onto Ruler, going to use that Zhonya as a kill comes in for Crown. 1 on the KT side, 2 on the KT side as Someday comes into the back of the fight. Kuve with a 2-man Gnar ultimate, still very powerful, but it looks like KT is going to clean this one up. Kuve with a lot of help, may be able to get Fly. He's so close, but he doesn't pick it up. GA might give him another opportunity. Nope, it won't. That is a clean ace, nearly clean ace, that is for KT. And what will they do? Probably push down this mid turret and then go back.
Fly was really the hero of that fight, getting in onto Ruler in the backline so efficiently. Ruler didn't really have anywhere to go. Great use of pool in the Zonya's Hourglass to tie up the AD carry. Score coming right back in with the Void Rush. Fly dedicated to taking down the mid-tier 1, and KT splitting to see if they can get 2 things at once.
They're going for everything in this play. Coming back to the dive from the Vladimir. No Devour for Ruler at any point in that fight. I wondered where that cooldown was used. We'll have to wait for a replay. But the Ashe, again, zerged down by the Ghost Flash Proto Belt Vladimir, and KT stacking advantages and blowing this game open.
Look at that, they really did. Got the mid turret, got the red buff, got the Baron. Let's watch that fight again.
We saw a series between these two teams where Wraith just didn't consider his AD carry and his Ashe kind of died for free. And you see that Devour isn't used to open space for Ruler at any point, and there's nothing he can do when Someday's just diving straight at him, takes him down in the backline. And that honestly is the big difference between the two teams, that Arrow gets so many more auto attacks onto relevant members of Samsung and doesn't even die during this fight.
Well, also just a really good use of exhaust onto Crown there. He was Hemo plagued first alongside Arrow, and then the exhaust came through onto the Victor, and because Ruler was tied up by the Vladimir and the exhaust was onto Crown, also Cube wasn't in position to get into Mega Gnar when that fight started, so a lot of things going wrong there for Samsung, but KT just isolating the carries and winning the team fight.
Yeah, that's a pretty big statement, too, for a point in the game where both teams are relatively even. For KT to win a team fight that one-sided, you got to be worried if you're Samsung someday. You got to be worried if you're Ruler, too. Gets away via Wraith, but that was a scary moment for the AD carry.
While I was talking about the damage synergy between Vlad and Sivir, also consider what else KT has in the fight. They had to snap back from Echo, all the ways to drop aggro from the Vladimir, and both Victor and the Ashe kind of need setup, kind of need peel. They can't really fend just for themselves, and Cube also needs to have that situational Gnar ultimate, so the situational stuff not coming together for Samsung, and KT zerging them down.
Wow, they have begun to crush Samsung at this point. 2 more turrets already with that Baron.
I mean, they have since Someday can't be in a side lane right now without teleport, they've just adjusted by having the Ghost Vladimir and the Void Rush Rek'Sai in the side lane. Rek'Sai here with that Tiamat can clear out the waves pretty damn fast, and there's going to take several towers as a result. KT with great lane assignments and no way for Samsung to answer.
Well, the way they're closing out this game looks so crisp right now. It was definitely shaky early on, but it's looking good at the moment. Arrow Popsy on the hunt. But, nope, just wanting to give themselves some breathing room, I suppose, to walk away.
I mean, that was the epitome of a Baron power play. This game was, what, 1,000 gold between the two teams? Now we look at it, 7,000 is the gold lead. The turrets have come raining down. Only a single turret still to Samsung's name. KT just blew it open off one team fight, and that's what the best teams in the world will do to you.
Someday, too, look at his itemization. Thorn Mail now, and a Warden's Mail that he just picked up. So Ruler Well, he's going to be basically killing himself on Someday.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit surprised that Someday didn't decide to go Dead Man's Plate, just going for the tankiness. And I guess it works both versus Cube and in the team fights against Ruler.
You know, the other thing to take note of is if you look at his scoreline too, at one point he was like 1-3-1, and now he's brought that up to 4-3-4. So certainly a much better later half of the game than early on.
Echo's laning phase is one of the main reasons we saw it come back in. Look at the chunk on Ruler from just a single boomerang blade. But the thing the Tank Echo always did was run an immobile AD carry. That is the meta right now, the Jins and the Ashes of the world. And this Echo with both the ultimate Guardian Angel, now Thornmail and the armor stacking, literally there's no counterplay for Ruler. He has to be zoned from a fight because no one can peel away this Echo.
Well, at least he's almost got his flash back up. That will be a small comfort.
That'll save him, Monty.
It will. It will. Watch.
I mean, it might, but it won't save him forever.
No. Well, I don't think anything can save Samsung at this stage.
Yeah.
KT going to go for a second Baron before they crack the base. They've got the run of the game right now, putting all the pressure on.
Well, they can certainly go for this Elder Dragon too, and it comes up in about 40 seconds now.
I think the main problem here for Samsung is this game. You've got a good lane matchup with the Gnar into the Echo. You even got 2 solo kills from the Gnar into the Echo.
Yeah.
It went about as well as Samsung could have hoped for, and KT still looks like they're going to win this game. So in games 2 and 3, if KT can steady the nerves, Someday can calm down, or even just get a better lane matchup for himself, how is Samsung going to win this series?
I mean, I think when it comes down to it, you look at it and it's kind of like what we talked about. At the end of the day, KT just looks like the better team. And even though they faltered early on, they have certainly gotten it together here in the latter half of Game 1. And one wonders, if you're Samsung, what are you going to do to try to win this one?
Made pretty similar summations of the Africa Freaks and their 2-0 loss against Samsung. And it just seems to be the run of the world right now. It's the better team, especially in a situation like this where there isn't a big team fight identity difference between the two in the late game. Will come out more often than not, and even with the assists for Samsung, they just couldn't find a way to actually find a big lead.
There's several to use, but the Ash Arrow catches score on the way out. He's got that GA, he's got the tunnel, not too worried. Someday comes in the side. Cuvée forced to use that Gnar ultimate on only Someday. I say forced, but was it forced? Did you need to do that? I'm not so sure.
It was used a lot there, as Someday just strolled right in and absorbed quite a few cooldowns. Arrow there just gets out of trouble pretty easily by using the On the Hunt, and that's going to be up pretty soon again. And
Uh-oh. Why? Never mind, use Vladimir.
Yep. Cool. Protobelt, Zhonya's flash. No way he was getting killed right there.
Yep.
All the easy objectives are taken by KT Rolster. Only the inhibitor turret line is left for Samsung, and because they are famed for those rotations, actually always getting to the minion waves, you can see the chip damage has been done to the top turret. Pressure never ends, and only now Samsung is able to push out of their base.
KT not too interested in the Elder Dragon right now, but when that Baron comes up in 40, I think we're going to definitely see them make a play for it.
See, the downside of actually going towards Elder Drake is that you actually relieve enough pressure for Samsung to get wards anywhere near the Baron, because
true.
If you just keep the lanes pushed up, you know they can't have vision because you've seen the 5 members of Samsung frantically trying to pick up CS and stop their turrets go down. You kite back, maybe there's going to be a couple of trinket wards, but that's the best there's going to be for Samsung.
Well, finally, Papa Smithy, somebody has some grievous wounds. They had the Morellonomicon, but without Ignite in this game, and we didn't really touch on that, Wraith going for the Exhaust instead, meant that there have not been very many good answers to Vladimir healing over time.
Yeah, Morellonomicon certainly a situational pickup, though, for the Victor, so they were clear on that. But I guess you need the Exhaust when you have an immobile AD carry like Ashe. Didn't really have space for the Ignite.
Yeah, all right, might be going in under Wraith here. Gets caught by that gravity shield. Has to pop that gray health. Fly coming in. They pop the On the Hunt. KT still pursuing here. Wraith very low on the side of the fight. Arrow has the Chaos Storm on top of it. It doesn't seem to really be bothering him too much. And Fly just wrecking people. Score coming in the back lines now. With that knockup, gets the double kill, pops the GA on Cuvée. Hachani and Someday diving into the base. Someday snapping back, looking for the kill on Ambition. Looks like he might get it when the repel comes back down. Either that or Ambition's going to get a double via the turret, but either way, KT's still looking pretty good. Cuvée about to go Mega Gnar. but he's going to be mega alive, maybe dead. The battle. Score versus Cuvée.
Just going to push down the mid turret right here. Someday on the run, doesn't want to use his GA proc. Arrow's going to get the inhibitor eventually.
The thing is by Cuvée dying so long after his other teammates, it's really going to put him out of sync with the respawns.
I mean, he may not die, but there's TP coming in.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. As long as he's out the base, they can get the inhibitors just like Arrow did right now. It's a great Gnar chase 2016.
Frozen Mouth is so annoying.
Kill the Yordle.
It is. Go, minions, go!
It's all right. They still have the Void Rush here from Rek'Sai.
Yep.
All right, let's go, Rek'Sai.
Yep. Oh, you can hear it coming in.
The great Gnar Corral.
That's right. Oh, he's tricky. Ooh. Wow.
Hide behind the Gromp.
Oh, he's TPing. They spot him. Not quite.
Wouldn't have interrupted him anyway. He gets out.
All right. So during all of that, Arrow was able to walk up and kill the mid inhibitor. So KT still getting a lot out of that team fight. Helps him put extra pressure onto the Baron. Now that the super minion waves are pushing up mid.
It's a bit generous to call it a team fight. Vlad ulted, Sivir got a couple of ricochets, and Samsung's damage dealers, specifically Crown, exploded. They went a bit of a silly season afterwards with the overchase and the turret dive, donating some kills to Ambition, but this is just what happens when KT reach a 4 or 5 item threshold. They're going to look for that second Baron as well.
Yep, clearing out some more that Samsung somehow got in there. KT pushing up the mid lane again as Score focuses on clearing out those waves up and top.
Waiting for this next Baron right now. Slow push here into the mid lane by KT as they struggle to regain control of this map, but Samsung just wants to clear out the super minions.
So one thing KT could do in this scenario, because we mentioned they don't have a lot of initiation apart from, Ghost Flash Vladimir. Something Samsung did that I was impressed by was pick up the Elder Drake, start Baron, even in Vision, the enemy has to fight you, and 90 seconds is plenty of time to take down a Baron. It guarantees it. But in this situation, Samsung so far haven't been able to test, but they're walking up.
KT focusing on that Baron. They're going to stick to it. They're going to get it. Now Cuvée trying to leap away, actually. Ash Arrow gets Fly, and Hachani. Gravity Field slows him up as well. Someday on Ambition for the moment. Cuvée over the wall. Still has that Gnar ultimate if he needs to use it. Parallel Convergence comes in, and it looks like KT just dancing backwards. They want to back off and make use of this Baron buff, and they'll be able to get out of this fight.
That was about the best fight that Samsung really could have hoped for right there, besides getting a good Gnar ultimate off. But Crown had a nice Chaos Storm Gravity Field combo, did chunk them out, which is what forced KT back instead of trying to end the game immediately, but it bought them maybe 30 seconds.
Now they seem to be walking over towards the Elder Drake to just complete the combo bust. Actually, Score just casually steals the blue, I guess.
Yep, as Ruler gets his own red.
I mean, how many blues has Crown actually got this game? We've seen Score on that blue side so frequently that it's probably just a handful, 1 or 2.
Yeah, meanwhile, Someday and Score just two-manning this Elder Drake. Looks like Arrow's going to come help out now. KT should be able to get it no problem. So Elder Drake and Baron buff. I would think that's probably enough to end the game.
Echo's definitely reached his fun and interactive stage now when it comes to itemization. Trinity Force and all the tankiness you could ever ask for. Plus he has the ultimate, of course, so good luck dealing with that Echo, Samsung.
I haven't even managed to pop Someday's or Score's GA even once right now.
And Someday had second item GA, so that's actually been on for a really long time.
It's true. Yeah, you'd think KT can go for a pretty major dive here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
They're playing it safe, though.
Do dive. They are, but...
Score's wave clear with the true damage applying onto the Titanic Hydra is actually almost instant wave clear on a Rek'Sai, which is a crazy thing to say, but that means that the global pressure here is going to be a lot for Samsung to contend with. We're going to see minion waves top and mid crashing into their base.
Sending Gnar up top right now, trying to dissuade Score from pushing further. But there's the Mega Gnar gone, and KT can wait that one out before diving.
That turret is so low right now. Cuvée trying to do everything he can to defend it. But meanwhile, they got the bot turret to worry about here too. They've got everything to worry about.
How low Cuvée has to get. He's tanking the cannon minion as well to stop this turret going down.
Yep. Wow, Score versus Someday, and Score is winning this one. Gets the inhibitor turret. Gets very low.
It's all right. He
But-
can just come back in. with his ult.
Exactly, yeah. He can just go right back to that tunnel that he just made. Meanwhile, KT pushing in. Gonna take out that top inhibitor. And here comes Score. That looks like it could be the beginning of the end as the top inhibitor is taken.
KT really got back on track after a sloppy early game, and their Baron control and objective control overall has been very good in the mid and late stages of this one.
I might wonder why they're not doing more ending the game fast. They just don't really have the tools to do that, barring a turret dive from Echo. They don't seem to want to go the slightly risky route, so this is the percentage way to almost guarantee they pick up the victory. So it takes some time, it drags the game out for KT in full control.
With the GAs on Score and Someday, though, you'd think they could be a bit more aggressive as far as their diving goes. Fly a little bit low, though. Ooh, a lot bit low. Needs to be careful here. That Chaos Storm really chasing. Has to pull to get out of it. Now Someday has to flash. Samsung chasing. They may have found something. Someday gets caught up. Johnny with the nice knock-up. Catches an Ash Arrow to the face. Fly getting some health back on the Wolves. Samsung still chasing. They might get the kill to Johnny. No, he backs away. Score coming in. Gets a flash knock-up onto Ruler. Ruler saved by Wraith for the moment to Score. Gonna have his GA popped. Cuvée ults, but immediately loses his Guardian Angel. A lot of GAs in this game. Goodbye, Cuvée. Arrow gets the kill. Meanwhile, Someday in the base, scaring everybody away. And looks like KT should be able to end it right here.
And Fly got a huge hemo play that took him from less than half HP all the way back to full to take that team fight.
Guess so.
Wow. KT turns it on its head.
Yeah, there goes the second Nexus turret. Another knock-up comes in for Score, and they should be able to finish it off. Just padding a couple more kills to the stats. And there goes the Nexus. Fly finally dying. Double kill for Crown, but it's not going to save the game as KT takes game one.
Well, the first few chapters of this game was certainly not to script. Specifically Someday, the guy who we said was the game changer for KT. 2 solo kills for Cuvée in the top lane kind of halted what ended up being a fairly inevitable move forward from KT. The moment that they got those kills, the Baron, the mid lane turret, the sudden 7,000 gold in, they never looked back, but there was a window for Samsung in this game, and that's probably more than KT can afford to give, given that they face SKT and increasing difficulty of opponents as they go forward, even if they win this series.
Yeah, we'll hope that Someday's jitters are out, and for Samsung, couldn't have really asked for much more in the early game. A couple of solo kills by Cuvée onto the ace player of KT, but they couldn't transition it. Cuvée actually did a good job in that game overall, but it was tough once we saw KT start to get together. Fly really holding his own in those team fights.
Yep. So looking for a little bit cleaner of a game from KT in game number 2, but if that happens, what in the world does Samsung do? Damage to champions, obviously, Victor looking pretty good in that category, but yeah, well.
Gnar actually did more damage than anyone on the side of KT, including a Sivir. That was all the mini Gnar hyperprocs, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wailing away on Someday in lane.
Yeah.
Gnar's laning phase was good. I think Cuvé's team fighting wasn't the cleanest, though. Didn't see the Gnar ultimates from him.
No, but
Not a lot
of times KT was forcing fights in unpreferential states around that Gnar bar, so.
Yeah, if you don't get to kind of set up the fight you're looking for, it's hard to get those big, 3-4 man Gnar ultimates. Samsung looking a bit despondent in the booth, but it's a best of 5. Anything can happen. Don't go anywhere, guys. When we come back, game 2, KT versus Samsung on LCK Summer on OGN. We'll be right back.
Got a feeling that I'm going under, but I know that I'll make it out alive. If I quit calling you my lover, move on. You watch me beat it till I can't breathe, shaking, falling onto my knees. And now that I'm without your kisses, I'll be needing stitches, tripping over myself, aching, begging you to come
끝까지 결과를 예상할 수 없었던 롤챔스 서머 그 11주간의 치열한 정규 시즌이 드디어 막을 내렸습니다. 역시 결론은 타이거즈, SKT, KT 기승전 3강이네요. 아무튼 정규 시즌 종료와 함께 어느덧 마지막 방송을 맞이하게 된 위클리 LCK. 이제 곧 잠정 백수 단군과 함께합니다. 여러분들 위클리 LCK 서머 시즌 마지막 방송 지금부터 함께하시죠. 준금승 마시고 8연패의 늪에 빠졌다가 아프리카를 잡고 기적적으로 회생한 지니어가 이번에 또 SKT에게 자다가도 열받아서 펄쩍 뛸 패배를 당했습니다. 초반의 차이가 무려 1대 10이었어요. 그뿐인 줄 아세요? 브라질리언 강타! 윙드가 무려 2번이나 바론과 용을 스틸해주면서 멱살 캐리! 하지만 페이커의 조냐 타이밍은 너무 칼 같았고 울프는 너무 잘 먹었고 쿠잔의 르블랑은 엑스페케의 르블랑이 아니었습니다. 고개를 푹 숙인 윙드 선수의 모습이 너무 가슴이 아픕니다. 천정희 코치 화 엄청 내던데 선수들 무사했겠죠? 지네요 힘내시길 바라겠습니다. 에이 그래도 승강전 안 갔잖아요. CJ랑 ESC보단 나으니까. 뜨거운 동지애로 가득한 감동의 드라마를 써내려간 농주게이밍이 SKT를 꺾고 드디어 자력으로 승강전을 탈출했습니다. 우!
끝내줘 일로와 나이스 우리 탈출이잖아 탈출
자력 탈출이다.
자력 탈출했다
자, 뜨거운 여름의 열기만큼 뜨거웠던 10팀의 승부. 이제 단 5팀만의 플레이오프를 기다리고 있습니다. 이번 시즌 역시 불변의 진리. 결승전 직행은 락스타이거즈였습니다. 결승만 갔다 하면 그냥 직행으로 갑니다. 근데 왜 우승은 단 한 번도 못 해봅니까? 아, 이거 답답합니다. 이번 시즌은 꼭 그 한을 풀고 우승컵을 번쩍 들길 바라겠습니다. 2위는 SKT입니다. 이번 시즌 강한 팀들한테는 다 이겨놓고 상대적으로 약한 팀들한테는 다 지고 어차피 우승은 SKT 어우승이라지만 이번 시즌만큼은 방심하면 안 될 것 같습니다. 네, 아직 짝수회가 끝나지 않았습니다. 아직 방심하지 마세요. 3위는 여름왕자 KT입니다. 강팀 판독기 썸데이가 프로배 올라온 5명의 탑솔러 익수, 린다랑, 큐베, 헬퍼, 듀크를 상대로 어떤 판독을 내릴 것인지 그리고 과연 KT가 4년 연속 썸머 시즌의 결승에 오를 것인지 지켜보겠습니다. 4위는 삼성입니다. 여름 남양 특집보다 더 무섭다는 앰비션이 있는 삼성. 드디어 이번 시즌 처음으로 플레이오프에 진출했습니다. 처음 온 플레이오프니만큼 긴장하지 말고 절대 실수하지 마세요. 왜냐고요? 숙소엔 앰비션이 있습니다. 마지막 5위는 아프리카입니다. 지난 스프링 시즌, 정규 시즌 다 휩쓸어 놓고 와일드카드전에서 맥없이 쓰러진 지난 시즌의 아픔을 만회할 기회가 왔습니다. 자, 롤챔스 서머와 함께했던 위클리 LCK는 여기까지입니다. 이제 서머 시즌이 지나고 나면 저에게 남은 것은 더 이상 채워지지 않는 통장 그리고 싸늘한 가을, 추운 겨울뿐이겠네요. 따뜻한 다음 스프링이 올 때까지 여러분 저는 어디 떠나지 않고 이 OGN 건물 바로 이 자리에서 위클리 LCK를 기다리고 있겠습니다. 움직이지 않을 거예요. 뜨거운 여름 함께해 주신 여러분 너무 감사드리면서 롤챔스 결승전 현장에서 여러분 다시 찾아오겠습니다. 결승전에서 뵙겠습니다. 안녕히 계세요.
여름이 가버리면은 따뜻한 초록은 저물 거야. 서러운 마음은 어쩔 수 없지. 웃으며 안녕할래. 그래도 난 네 곁에서 함께 해줄게.
Beat in sync with the fast track. All eyes are searching to the black. Jump back and get back a little more.
Welcome back to the LCK Summer Playoffs. Fly gets the MVP for game number 1 on that Vladimir. He absorbed a lot of people's blood, and we'll reward him for that.
He also shot out a lot of his own blood.
That's true.
He did, yeah.
Equal opportunities, sharing the blood, and
Good job.
took over the late games as a Sivir and Vladimir comp would be expected. Early game was a lot about Samsung, specifically taking advantage Cuvée of someday making some mistakes in lane. And some interesting trades in this particular elongated invade. That was another small mistake by KT, but KT steadied the ship in the mid game and never looked back.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit shaky early on, but towards the end of it, we saw team fights like this, Samsung really not having a chance.
Look at Fly, like he does die right there, but the amount of damage he can get off before, and this was really, I think, the clutch play, double Hemo Blade onto the carries. He cuts them off from doing damage.
Yeah.
And when Crown gets in, he's just going to get exhausted pretty much immediately by Hachani, then tied up there with the Glacial Fissure. Meanwhile, nobody can save Ruler from Someday and Fly in the back line, and that was really a game-changing team fight for KT Rolster.
Yep, certainly was.
This game we saw Cuvée get a champion that he's been performing on recently, the Gnar, and it certainly worked in terms of the laning phase, but that was the big adaptation. A lot of top lane bans the last time these two teams met on Saturday. This time the top lane champion pool changes, but the result stays the same for KT.
Fly with some of those Hemo Plagues in the late game, you can see getting nearly 2,000 HP back. So pretty
Wow.
gross at the end of that, and that's what Vladimir does. So Fly showing his proficiency on that champion yet again.
Monty, Papa Smithy, listen, hearken to the song played in the esports arena as we see that Samsung has changed one of the members of their team. They're going with Helper.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Stitch. Whoa, all right. Well,
What?
so
What? Okay, I
his
get
first game
I
of the
get-
season.
I get Helper. Stitch has not played a game this season, and he's coming in game 2 of their playoff match.
Now, there were
Yeah.
Corki buffs, and he's played Corki before.
yeah, I guess, but
Now, this is interesting because Ruler's champion pool is well-traveled territory. Ashe and Sivir. Will we see a Jhin game from Stitch? What has he been playing in solo queue? These are the questions. There's been no reason to even consider Stitch because he hasn't played a single game, but this is a curveball that maybe Samsung needs to find that first victory in 17.
Yeah, the other, of course, ruler champion is Ezreal,
Sure.
but we may not be seeing that as much in standard lanes. And yeah, what does Stitch have? Helper coming in now. Helper has only played 3 games this season. Rumble, Echo, Maokai, and he is going to be next up to see what he can do when it comes to dealing with Someday. But what
Wow.
a surprising roster move here
You know,
for
I-
Samsung.
Stitch had better be their secret weapon. Otherwise, this is not going to make a whole lot of sense.
Wow, it's just impressive too, because one of the great things about Ruler and Wraith is their synergy. The fact that they collapse
Yeah.
with Ambition in early game skirmishes so well. They always seem to be on the same page when they do invades in the laning phase. So I hope that Stitch has that same level of aggression and a willingness to forego CS to make plays with ambitions invades.
I don't know if that's the case, though. If I think back to Stitch, the one champion I remember him performing on was the Callista, much more of a 2v2 champion. We still see someone like Sungyun messing around with it, but Stitch being in the lineup is an insane curveball for Game 2.
Okay, so they're going to ban out the Aurelion Soul first. That fell all the way through picks and bans in game number 1.
All right, interesting that KT is banning the Echo against Helper.
Well, I mean, it was one of the few champions that he's played, I suppose, so trying to just see what he's got, you know? Varus banned out against Crown as well. Trundle banned against KT.
One unique champion that Helper had that Cuvée hasn't played is the Rumble, which can work against picks like the Shen that Someday was prioritizing in the last series. Is also one of those relatively safe top laners, so that's the big pick for Helper, would be the Rumble.
Tom Kench banned, so that Gangplank is available for Samsung if they want to take it.
Cuvée out of the
got the
lineup,
red side.
so they, I guess, play with fire a little bit, and that means that maybe we'll see Someday's first game on Gangplank of the season.
Would be a treat to see Someday on that pick, considering that KT has basically been uniformly banning it in all their matches. They banned it 2 games on Saturday against Samsung, and it hasn't been something that KT has shown any inclination for whatsoever.
So Talia is also available for KT. Samsung banned out the Talia in game number 1, chose to ban the Aurelion Soul instead in game number 2.
And having the GP Talia combo is such a global powerhouse and really does fit right into KT's style.
Is it worth grabbing both right now, picking that mid laner so early?
I don't think so. I think Fly has some other choices for what he can do, and Someday is just spelling out KT with champions. And will be the GP, but maybe they go for the Talia pick.
All right, I mean, it's a pretty safe mid laner either way, and they are going to do it. Wow, GP and Talia, that is a strong duo for KT early on.
So will Crown go for the Vladimir that we know he's been playing recently, or will it be the Malzahar that somehow fell through picks and bans? There was a very slight Malzahar nerf on this patch, but even those small nerfs in the previous 2 patches haven't really changed the fact that he is quite oppressive in lane.
The Vlad didn't work out for Samsung very well in their last meeting with KT, and that was only 5 days ago, so, or not even 5 days ago.
Lissandra is another pick that makes it through, that has been very powerful. Lissandra also
That's a good point.
would be able to tie up the Talia. Be a good lane to gank for the Rek'Sai.
Always looks attractive when there's a GP on the other side, though, because you can get out of that Lissandra ultimate. Same thing with Malzahar, because they can actually clear suppression. So, GP not a very viable target. Alistar and Ashe. And we had a few questions about how many Alistars we'd be seeing on a patch that is more about standard lanes.
But riddle me this, you bring in a new AD carry and you pick Ashe again. That's what Samsung would decide to do. I think Ruler is a fantastic Ashe player.
Very good.
We thought it was a champion pool issue, but it's going to go back to the Ashe well again.
That is interesting.
It's going to have a lot less protection this time with the Tom Kench banned out. Fly picking the Elise for score, not a surprise. That has been really prioritized for score this season. See the Braum pick for Achani.
Wraith is 5-1 on Alistar this season. Was his best pick in spring as well, so a practice champion at least. KT, the Braum would be the reliable choice against the Ashe.
Taric Elise.
But the thing about the Taric is that when we know we're getting standard lanes, the Alistar actually opens up the Taric pick, because you're basically saying, okay, neither of us are going to have very lane dominant champion duos, which is a weird choice for this patch. One would have to think, and this is maybe a bit too much comfort, but when Achani has been able to get that Taric, he put up numerous MVP performances during the regular season on the Taric, and when you can protect Someday's GP with invincibility, that's pretty devastating.
But turn that around, Monte Cristo. Let's think aggressive, because Achani was great with those turret dives. Talia coming in on the Weaver's Wall, Cannon Barrage, and guess what? Your team's invulnerable as well. That sounds like some pretty sick turret dives. And we talked about standard lanes. Okay, maybe there's going to be less of those teleport plays because there's not going to be turrets down. There can still be those turret dives, and KT have a dirty turret dive comp.
And do you maybe add a Jhin onto this? What's an 80 parry, 80 carry pick you go? 80 parry, that sounds like a League of Legends pop star, doesn't it? 80 carry pick. 80 parry, wow. I've just invented a parody act.
That's great.
Well, Doa, we laughed through your misfortune, and it was going to be the Jin that you mentioned, so you at least were
All
on
right,
the ball there.
there we go.
There's that long-range damage, so why not the Jin to wrap people up? Won't be helping in the turret dives.
There's a rumble that we suspected for Helper as well.
I don't know if I suspected it into GP.
Papa Smithy suspected it. He's like, well, they're just going to play Helper, so they pick Rumble.
I mean, if you're going to play Helper, he's probably going to play Rumble. This
Yeah.
is the one pick that he plays that's unique from QV. The laning matchup can be very, very painful against the Gangplank. Now, it's good early. For a melee champion to actually be able to go toe-to-toe with a GP in the early laning phase isn't a trivial thing. So you have to mention that it's not going to be a lot of health. Maybe you itemize a Hex Drinker as the Gangplank, but Rek'Sai and Rumble can explode a Gangplank early.
Yeah, and that's what they have to do because Samsung, they've got the Lissandra, they have the Rumble and the Ashe, so they've got strong team fighting in the mid game. But if this goes late, I would not want to be a Proto Belt Rumble walking into a billion GP barrels.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, when he played the top lane Rumble, he never built the Proto Belt. It was the old build. It was like the Rylai's and the Zonias. So may not actually be the Proto Belt that Smeb's been favoring on the Rumble.
Well, problem with that is I think you lack late game damage if you're going to be building more for tankiness and survivability. So regardless, Samsung, great composition to work with in the mid game, have strong engage, but QSS here is going to absolutely wreck Samsung in the later stages of this game. So they've got to go hard and get that lead. Otherwise, KT is going to have so many different tools just to poke them out before they can even start a team fight.
A lot of questions going into this one, especially on the roster side of Samsung. Can they tie up this series, or will KT jump out to a 2-0 lead? Let's get in the game and find out. Ocean Drake. Welcome to Summoner's Rift again. Samsung versus KT Rolster. Samsung fans not giving up on their team. They've made the playoffs. They've made the second round of the playoffs even.
I figured it out. They're using
What?
Stitch for the synergy with our in-between match song,
Ah.
right? So
Yeah.
we have, yes, it's called Stitches, Doa.
Oh, okay. I did not know that. I am not very observant.
I'm so excited about this game. Game one, you know, that kind of went predictably after the draft. It was going to be slow. We're going to wait for the team fighting phase. The moment level 6 rolls around, whether it's the Weaver's Wall or the Lissandra with Teleport, the Taric ult as well, the Ashe Ultimate, we could have some explosive skirmishes 4v4 in this game.
Yeah, they did at least force Fly to take the cleanse in this game against the Lissandra. Hide.
Look out. It's okay. We can still see your KT Rolster fans. That's the issue.
No,
Bumper.
No, you want to put the sign on the camera, not above it.
Bumper.
Show us your sign.
All right. I just want to know why his shirt said bumper. Sometimes shirts say things in Korean. We don't really know why.
You have a shirt that says hamburger.
I do. I love that shirt. It's just a T-shirt with a picture of a hamburger. It just says hamburger on it. I mean, it really doesn't get any more simple and beautiful than that for T-shirts, does it? The answer is no, it doesn't.
You're just repping food.
What can I say? I mean, people see an American, what do they expect? Hamburger.
Just living up to the stereotypes. Good work, Doa.
There you go. Well, I eat hamburgers responsibly. That's the difference.
How do you eat hamburgers responsibly?
You don't eat 5 of them in one sitting.
Oh. What's the sweet spot, 3 or 4?
I think 1 generally.
Call yourself American.
Chani going for the dazzle. And you'd have to imagine this Jin Taric duo would have maybe a little bit of an edge early on.
Well,
What do you think?
I think it's just a matter of getting both these melee supports through the laning phase. It should be pretty much even. And the poke for both Jin and Ashe pretty good, so we're not going to see too much action down there as Score takes the blue buff, so not going to go for any exciting 3-minute ganks here. We'll be crab focused instead.
I think the laning phase is actually really good for Ashe Alistar. It's just the level 1 is the discrepancy. Level 1 Dazzle with the ability for 2 chain stuns versus the Alistar who had skilled Pulverize. The Alistar's kind of just completely weak in lane till 2 and probably level 3. I think when all 3 skills are available and the extra range from the Ashe, I think Ashe Alistar will have lane dominance. Because Chani understanding level 1's probably our best spot till level 6, so try to get aggression and get some health out of and potions out of the Alistar and Ashe early.
2 chains, huh? 2 chains? You said 2 chains? Is that
2 chains.
2 chains? I think it's Tarek's rapper name, pretty sure. Tarek 2 Chains McDazzleton.
That he's a Scotsman then, the McDazzleton.
I guess so. I don't know.
He's a fabulous Scotsman.
It's going after the hamburger thing, I guess. Well, slow and quiet. Early game number 2.
Rumble was seen as a GP counterpick way back when in the top lane. Because of things like this, level 4 is really powerful for the Rumble.
Yeah, whoa, someday getting very low.
Again, once the barrels and the Trinity Force come through, Gangplank will have great options from range, but early game is really punishing for the Gangplank.
This is what Samsung was hoping for.
Yeah, it is, again, just all about what Samsung can do with their team fighting in the mid game. It's a bit of a bummer for Samsung that it is going to be an Ocean Drake first, because obviously ever since the Elemental Drake changes come through, you are more at the mercy of which Drake it is that's going to spawn, because if you get lucky and you get a couple of Infernal Drakes with this composition, you're going to be feeling really good. But Ocean Drake not going to kind of do you any favors in the time that you can really force fights, and it's going to give KT some breathing room to scale out here.
It has to be the bot lane, though. It has to be big visits. We're going to see one potentially right now, but
Yeah.
KT have so much initiation for bot lane.
Crowd's not even level 6, so this is a very early roam.
Yeah, they're going to get spotted by the ward, and I guess they're going to roam right back up to mid lane now.
We're talking about Ashe, Alistar, and Lissandra entering lane. Hella, Flash and Burrow will help as well. There's so much one-on-one engagement. Without that Braum, there is no clean answer for the arrow on the side of KT in the duo lane.
Yeah, problem is, though, you can't do it prior to all of those champions really hitting 6. And it was
They just got excited, okay, Monty? They're scoping it out. They're like, all right, this is the bot lane. Okay, this is where we'll come.
I like how you referred to it as a visit. That's a very pleasant way of describing somebody coming to kill somebody else.
How do you know they were there to kill anyone, Doe? Why are you always thinking about killing?
I mean, because that's just the way the game is, you know? You don't come to the bot lane to say hi. You come to say die. Yeah.
Important difference between the two. Important, subtle difference.
That's right.
always thinking about killing Doa. I think we need to commit you soon.
Hamburgers and killing. That's Doa.
I found the good career for it, you know? League of Legends caster. Well, you got to kill something to have a hamburger. Well, until they grow
we
them.
go.
Uh-oh, that's kind of rough. Someday in trouble, flashes, and he is indeed dead. First blood goes over to Ambition. Score a little bit late to the party.
And here's a switch up in the lanes. They're going to try and get that first brick.
Yeah, look at the time. It's
That's
6
right.
minutes 20, so the reinforcements, the 50% damage reduction is down. We were wondering, would teams basically lane till 5 minutes and lane swap? And this is the first answer.
Yeah, Score's in trouble now. Raid coming in for the headbutt, the pulverize, and that's another kill for Samsung. As soon as he comes out, he's never coming down!
Ignite!
Where'd he go? Oh, he's just behind the turret, never mind.
He was ejected into space by
I
the
guess so.
Alistar. There's a spider in orbit right now, but with that, just a Score was caught up there in a long time by the chain of crowd control and ended up dying before he could get that repel, or at least getting the ignite down, so he died during the repel. KT get a match right now, so it won't be that first brick as we see teams switch up on the opposite side of the map. Now, Samsung did lose a bit of gold and farm to the tier 1 turret on the bottom side. As a result of that play, someday going to try and get a nice chunk of parlay gold, a couple barrels.
Certainly will.
The minion waves actually in top and bot are both in disadvantageous positions. Rumble entered bot and had to leave, so for now we do see the lane pushing into Someday. Fitch is able to enter lane in top even without his Alistar though.
I like the idea from Samsung at the very least. Setting up that timing for the kill into the top lane onto Someday, using the advantage in that matchup, and then trying to push it straight into the first turret of the game. KT responding quickly, but still a couple kills. That's a nice advantage.
Yeah. Works for now. We did see Samsung getting a nice advantage in game number 1. It didn't end up helping too much. Ambition coming from behind onto Someday. There's
so
the
dead.
equalizer going down. Yeah, I don't think Someday's getting out of this without a flash. GG. And Someday already dying twice to the ganks in lane.
There's not really anything you can do about that, though, if you're KT, besides have Score play around you more and try and answer these ganks, because he had no flash, he had no cannon barrage, and with the Deathfire touch on Helper's Rumble, it's just really easy to make those plays in conjunction with the Tiamat Rek'Sai.
Oh, Ambition did not get
He
that
didn't get it.
buff. No.
Score did.
I mean, when the ult specifically is down, there's no reason for Score to come in, otherwise it's going to be a double kill. Gangplank provides nothing at level 7 with no ultimate, so it is needed Ambition to not go for the pathing, but credit Ambition. He's been the proactive early game jungler, and Score's only got a death to his name, so nice early start from Samsung.
Yeah. You know, that said, though, Someday's been keeping up on his CS, and the Gangplank can certainly die a couple times early on and still be a beast late game, so I don't think KT is too concerned about this yet.
Yeah, exactly, Dora. It doesn't really matter if the GP dies as long as he's not getting denied farm in the early game. Certainly, it's great for Samsung. They get that extra gold, and that's what they need to snowball this game in the mid game, so helpful, but we've seen these Gangplanks get solo killed in lane, die 3-4 times, time and time again, and they still manage to do insane late game damage.
Yep.
When you're saying these Gangplanks include someone like Duke, who was solo killed 3 times by ADD in the SKT MVP match and still did big damage in the late game. Helper will get out of this.
Score you can chase.
not.
GPL drop, though. Helper has Fly. There he goes. Fly picks up the first kill of the game for his Talia.
And are they going to get the first brick gold? If someday can get solo gold on a turret, they're going to be extraordinarily happy. Ambition is not in position to really stop this. And
There's
Curtain
a wave
Ball
clear.
is going to be dropped.
Oh, Asher Awanda Hachani, though. Arrow trying to save his support, but he's not going to be able to. Hachani survives for just a moment, but the moment is not long enough. So who's going to get that first turret? It looks like it's probably still going to go to Someday. Well, I don't know. It's going to be close. Oh, first brick. It's so important now, but Samsung's going to get it.
Yeah, they have 3 people and also the minion wave. It's going to be
That's big.
huge.
Yeah.
Casual 300 gold onto the 3 people pushing in is very significant.
Helper does have to be careful now, though.
He can ult the wave if he needs to stop it pushing in, but with Someday backing away, turret will stay alive.
Yeah, he's got a good amount of gold to spend. He's got to be getting pretty close to this Trinity Force by now. And he's got that 30 CS lead, rather. Oh, we're getting boots instead.
It's a little bit short, so we'll just have to leave it for now. Yeah, Helper started with the Seeker's Arm Guard. Not necessarily going to see the rush on the Zonias, but it was Rylai's Zonias' early core and also the Haunting guys in the last time we saw him play Rumble.
Yeah.
Repping it old school.
True enough. Not seen coming in the lane either.
Actually quite hard to do given how many wards are down.
That is sneaky.
He's recalling, though, so not going to really use that. Crown going after Fly. Fly gets ulted. Got to be careful here. Still has that flash. Whoa! Flash for flash. Crown under the turret, though. Score goes in. Nice cocoon. Locking it up. Crown over pursuing, and he paid for it.
That was so greedy from Crown.
Yeah.
He tried to flash W the Talia, and Ambition was there to try and back him up, but no respect for where Score could be on the map. Score just hits him with a flash cocoon and manages to use his ranged spells to finish off that kill.
And that range on the W is actually very short. I'm pretty sure he missed it to begin with.
Yeah,
Probably. I mean, not to mention, Fly still had his flash, so
that was super greedy.
yeah, it's a lot to assume that the mid laner is going to just completely miss it. GPL drop down Ambition, might eat another barrel here. Nope, gets out of it just in time, but that does help KT push up this mid lane. Be able to get their first turret.
Samsung doing a really good job of just reassigning lanes and keeping Stitch and Wraith forward and pushing down these turrets.
I mean, there's nothing Jin and Turret can do to answer the Ashe, who has the different range wave clear options. The Q and auto attack from Jin are not enough. We're going to see the replay. Watch for the flash.
Yeah, does he get the W? Or
That's
no?
just not,
No,
that's
just
nowhere near.
Not even
He
close.
just straight up missed it.
Oh, and then the minion. Well, that's what you get.
He was like 300 units short of actually hitting the W.
Yeah, it was. The flash was late from Fly, but in any case, that was a sloppy play there from Crown. And you just don't need to go in on that, right? You can just continue to force these skirmishes and not try and outplay somebody 1v1.
I mean, consider what he did. He blew the enemy's cleanse for just the cost of his ultimate and forced him out of lane. That's a win already. Doesn't have teleport to get back to mid lane, get some chip damage, but greed was there from Crown.
Very true. Samsung still putting a lot of pressure on this bot lane, though.
No deep wards anymore, so the threat of someone coming in is not there. The Gangplank hold is down as well, so free to just harass and get this turret super low.
Score nearby in case Samsung wants to try anything.
They just want to force him away from the turret, though.
Yep, I think so.
And right now, it's just about concentrating farm for KT onto Someday. They're giving up objectives so that Someday can remain unharassed and maintain his CS advantage, which is healthy already on the GP.
Yeah, Helper actually just pinged level 9.
Whoops.
Someday's been 10 for a while, so just experience in terms of waves gotten to. Despite the kills, Helper's been denied.
All right, curtain call. Ambition takes the blue buff, but flies right there to take it back. Oh, Crown zoning, though. Looks like Ambition's going to live, just barely. Ooh, that was close.
Very close, but still blue buff. Taken away by Samsung. They get the bottom tower too. And that leaves them with a nearly 3,000 gold lead. Someday the one they're trying to supercharge as normal. And this looks a lot like KT that we saw during the season. Someday takes an enormous amount of gold in the mid game after 15 minutes as a percentage of his team's farm.
Yeah.
So they really just like to power him up, and it's the right call. KT knows that even if they're 5K back, they can fight in the late game with this team composition. It's about getting the GP online early.
I mean, we know this Talia is going to do a ton of damage too. Wraith a little bit stopped up here, but he'll be okay. Doesn't even need to use the ultimate. But yeah, I mean, KT's going to have so much damage late.
Aegis is such an important item for KT. Have to expect Score picking up soon. Speaking of Score,
All right, well, GPL dropped, forcing the flash from Stitch. Gets dazzled, gets dead. And KT picks up another kill. Helper teleports in. Wraith right there, gets a double pulverize.
Nice equalizer.
Yeah, good equalizer. Setting up another dazzle, though. Hachani barely living
Comes Crown.
with that invulnerability.
Oh,
Helper on
boy.
the side, and here comes Crown, like you said, to try to clean this one up. But not before Someday picks up a kill. And KT trying to back away. Arrow needs to be careful. W after the E as Crown tries to make a play, ults himself to stay alive. That allows Helper to come in to pick up maybe a double. No, just a single as Fly is still alive, and KT turns the fight around. So close, but KT wins it in the end, and that is 3 kills onto Someday now, and a turret. Huge one. Whoa, Ash Arrow. That might very well have been a kill onto Fly if that had connected.
And that was such a good flash there attempt from Helper. He got 3 very low people inside his Flame Spitter, but the real hero of that fight was Hachani, and a perfectly timed Taric ultimate on top of the equalizer.
I mean, Stitch, there were so many people around the red buff. Stitch should have known that there was going to be a turret dive coming through, so it's already going to be a 5v4 at best. The equalizer here, though, is beautiful to see, and Hachani almost dives straight up to it. The ult only just registers. The Cosmic Radiance only comes through right at the end. And at this point, it looks like Crown's going to be zoned. You're like, all right, the team fight's finished, but Helper is very smart here. He understands, even after Crown takes his whole health bar, he gets into the danger zone, and with so many low members, this could have easily been a triple, but only ends up being a double, and Fly zoned on super low HP.
Whoa.
Wow.
Someday,
Like
he's got the
one
double
health,
buffs.
man.
No one can actually collapse onto him. They will take the fight, but man, could have swung the other way in just a small amount.
What a great play. I mean, even in a losing team fight, the read
more.
from Helper.
All right, Score and Hachani definitely in some trouble here, but the curtain call comes in. Did I say trouble? Never mind. Hachani picks up a kill. Hachani flashes over the wall, and Score, the one kind of left on his own, and looks like KT going to give one over to Samsung, but in the end, a little bit nicer to get that kill on the Helper.
Score has picked up the Aegis that's so necessary against the double AP. They're pushing up to Stitch, though.
Yeah, GPL dropped onto Stitch. Oh wow, what a play from Fly. Easy pickup there for KT, and they're going to get Wraith too. His ultimate not enough to keep him alive. And KT going to follow this up with some pressure on either the Dragon or the mid-range turret, or mid-lane turret, mid-range turret.
Well, Fly has been clutch with those bumps from Talia in that last team by barely surviving by getting the Rumble out of position, and that time around, just fishing Stitch out from underneath the turret. But before that play happened, once again we saw the Rumble dying, we saw Helper die, and where was Someday? Oh, he was farming in the bottom lane. Now we have an advantage that is over 60 CS. We're looking at a very real, maybe 25-minute flame horizon. And KT, they just continue to get a little bit more farm here and there and expand their advantages. Now they've come back from a deficit. Now they have a gold lead, and they're going to be more powerful in the late game.
consider what KT does. They don't look for early turrets. They don't look for early drakes. They look for gold on Someday. And even after dying twice in lane, they understood that they could still set up at the cost of the 2 early turrets, Someday getting a big CS advantage. And we know he's going to put that to good use later in the game. And one other point is Stitch. You know, he does look like a guy who's been out of competitive play for 4 or 5 months because he's pushing up, much like Ruler has been criticized for in previous series, and overextending and dying.
Oh, speaking of overextending, Ambition finds himself a bit alone in the jungle, able to tunnel through that wall. Fly drops it immediately. There's a curtain call, though. Could be a problem. Nice block from Wraith on some of that damage, but he may pay for it. Arrow picks up another kill, and wow, the cocoon into the deadly flourish, into the kill for Fly. KT just tearing Samsung apart.
I didn't even have to have the cannon barrage up for that play either. Fly again, great presence on the map, setting up that Weaver's wall. And you see the synergy, just the lockdown from the cocoon and the deadly flourish combo. The dazzle follow-up leaves Samsung with really nowhere to go after getting pushed out of lane. So
there is so much hard CC on KT. That's something we haven't really touched on yet, but they can lock you down for a long time.
So can Samsung, but again, we see Stitch walking up, trying to be a bro, help out his Alistair. He doesn't have the tools to do that. He's just a humble Ashe and dies for the bonus kill, and now the Drake over to KT.
First Drake of the game here at 19 minutes, so late, but no priority. And there we go. There's going to be the priority. Infernal Drake as number 2, and Samsung really needs that one. They really need that one. They will be, at least in terms of their composition, in a prime place, but you have to think with a nearly 4,000 gold deficit that this is probably KT's game to lose.
Well, this after KT was down themselves about 3,000 gold in the early game, so it's like a 7,000 gold swing in just the last 5 minutes or so.
But this is why you don't give KT Talia and Aurelion Sol, because they know how to come back by playing around, pushing more minion waves and farming more minion waves than you do. And Fly is still, he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's able to make these cross-map plays efficiently so that not only are they farming more, but they can turn fights on their head and get the kills too.
KT are just that sort of team where if you offered them a situation where they could have a 5,000 gold disadvantage but a 1,000 gold advantage on their top laner in the early game, they'd probably take it because that's how they set up, that's how they know how to play. Whether it's the Gangplank top or the Maokai, they always prioritize Someday getting big, and they found a way to do that even at the cost of early objectives for Samsung.
Very true. 70 CS lead, a little bit above that for Someday now on that Gangplank.
It's just ludicrous to think of how the early game went, and now we're already talking about a 25-minute flame horizon for Someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was dived, he was denied, and he's back.
Crown caught by Someday.
Weaver's wall.
Yeah, Weaver wall comes in. Crowd flashes over it, or it gets over with the E rather. Ults himself. May not live through this, so Zonius comes through. Ashe Arrow barely misses. Could be big. Crown manages to get out for the moment. But KT can keep chasing. Ambition, the one in trouble now. Over the wall they go. KT still chasing, looking to pick up that kill on Ambition. He tunnels away for the moment.
Nice
KT
retreat.
Still chasing. Yeah, nice retreat. But here comes score rather with the flash cocoon. And
Meanwhile,
Someday gonna grab that kill. Yep. Arrow quietly having a really good
GB.
game on this Jhin. I believe he's 3-0-7 at the moment, but he may be 3-1-7 very soon.
Nice play by Crown, actually. He's coming up, but they don't find him. He was sneaky.
Sneaky Jhin.
And Crown tries to make the counterplay after getting chunked out, nearly died.
Wow.
But Arrow just recalling in the dot brush in lane. Samsung's still looking for him.
Where is he?
Well, they know where he went now.
Yeah, they should know by now.
You look at this game and the roster swaps, you're like, well, Help has had a pretty good game, scoreline accepted.
All right, and Wraith caught again, has to pop that L-Star ult early. Nice knock back by Fly. Get him a little bit closer. Stitch there to add on some damage. Arrow looking for a deadly flourish, gonna go for the curtain call instead. They force a flash on the Stitch right away, and Wraith popped back by Fly. Arrow's not gonna kill him with the final shot of that ultimate, but KT chasing down Ambition yet again now. Gotta be careful. Helper does not have the equalizer though, so I guess they don't need to be as worried. Dazzle connects on Ambition. Helper forces Zonias that he's bounced back in by Fly. KT just has so many ways to kill you that Samsung, as we're seeing, you know, can poke in a little bit, but they can't really get anything done.
Well, and that didn't look like a big win from KT, but they blew so many flashes on the side of Samsung that there's not going to be any escape from the next fight that KT takes.
And even simpler, guess what Someday was doing the whole time they were blowing flashes? He was farming bottom. So
we're getting there, Papa. The 25-minute Flame Horizon is still on the table.
Has anyone
doable.
died twice in lane, then got a 25-minute Flame Horizon?
It's disgusting. I mean, the way that KT sets up around Someday. And it's fun, too, because he hasn't played the GP all season.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you specify what we're excited about. It's not that Someday got the sick farm because he's a great farmer. It's because KT, as a team, are smart at setting up around Someday. So it's recognizing KT's ability to set up for Someday to go big on a top lane carry rather than necessarily Someday's laning prowess.
Totally.
I really do think it's a credit to the coaching staff over the last year to really realize what their strengths are as a team. Fly coming in this year and playing more of a utility or wave clear role, but as long as he's the player who has a great sense of where to be on the map and win, he's managed to make it work, and they've picked up these weird pocket picks like Aurelion Sol that no one else in this league plays because it caters to KT's style so well.
Yeah. It's an offbeat champion pool, but these are picks that are so hard to prep against because when you scrim, no one else plays, and when you solo queue, no one else really plays. There's a lot of underplayed champions. So Fly, whether it's the edge of the inexperienced enemy teams have or just his mastery over, I think together, it gives KT a big advantage.
Oh boy, Deadly Flourish after the cocoon again onto Ambition. Gets out with the tunnel. KT takes a big chunk out of him. A minute until that Infernal Drake comes up. That's going to be where KT is going to want to put the map pressure on next. Stitch. Oh boy, goodbye. Oh man. Yep, and guess what? Talia does a lot of damage too.
They're so good at setting up that combo.
Yeah, no kidding. With the 80 carry out of the way too, now they can push up this mid lane. And they can catch Ambition again. Not a lot that Samsung looks to be able to do in this game.
Well, it's
Someday
Sunday's
farming.
first game as gameplay this season.
Oh, all right. Weaver's Wall comes through.
Just wants
Just
the
going to
turret.
block him off to take the turret. Yeah, that's right.
Playing Horizon, we are 6 CS away from it, Monty.
It's all right, he's taking blue buff, so it'll happen soon.
Not going to get it at 25 minutes, though.
He had one job
He had
Sunday.
three
Three
CS.
off. He was 3 away.
Damn it.
So close.
He's going to get it now, though.
From the wave, yeah, took the Grump, just devouring the enemy jungle at the moment.
Yeah, wait for it. As KT goes for the Infernal Drake here, and there it is.
Yay.
Flame Horizon, 25-21. So only 20 seconds off, not bad. And KT takes like the easiest Infernal Drake in the world again.
Well, there was no choice really there for Samsung.
Yep.
Stitch just coming back up.
And this is, I feel like this is kind of what we were worried about. That, game 1 was a bit close early on. Game 2, though, a complete stomp fest
I mean,
favor of KT.
This was an 0-2-0 Gangplank that is now Flame Horizon, is 4-2-4, and has 3 items at
Yep.
25 minutes.
Yep.
There is no coming back from this right now. GP is so strong.
Yeah. The Stitch switch has been a problem for Samsung this game.
You feel for Helper, though. Helper's been good
Yeah, he
despite the
has been.
scoreline. His laning phases understand of his limits in team fights.
Yep.
It's just that Stitch has been too far up. He seems inexperienced against the ranges from the Talia and just where you're safe on the map. And that makes sense. He hasn't played all season.
Well, to be fair, too, it's very hard not to get picked off by KT's composition when there's a Cocoon, a Deadly Flourish, and the knockback from Talia.
Fly doesn't need any help from anybody, apparently, to just kill the Ashe. All right. Baron control time. Exciting, isn't it?
It's the best.
I can't help but look forward. I see a series like this, specifically Game 2, the smart setup from KT, some of the individual players, and this looks like a KT team that can beat SKT, but
It really
I know
does.
Monty especially has said that probably more than any other person in the world. So it actually happening will be, we have to wait for the actual KT celebration.
I have said that a lot.
I think, like we've said many seasons past, on paper, yeah, it looks like they can beat SKT, but then again, you say never bet on SKT, or I say never bet on SKT, or bet against SKT, rather.
Yeah, pretty different thing to say.
I'm usually right. Usually right. Call.
Who we hit?
Goes for Crown. Zones out Ambition a little bit too.
Meanwhile.
Yeah, never bet against SKT. Although you might be tempted to again this time. KT certainly looking like a team that can give SK Telecom a run for their money.
4 levels ahead
This is so
of the
gross.
Rumble that killed him twice in lane.
That is insane.
4 levels.
And that's the strength of KT, right?
Yep.
They don't have the star power of SK Telecom, but they
Goodbye,
do
Crown.
have the coordination. Goodbye.
You're dead.
Johnny was giving him the hammer.
Ambition shows up, flashes back in the lane. Fly finds him though. That Weaver's wall blocked off Ambition for a little while. Gets a knock up. Equalizer comes down. It hits
Nice
a lot
equalizer.
of members of KT. It is, but there's no follow-up for Samsung.
I mean,
So
there's
what
a
is-
locket, there's magic
good is it?
resist, there's experience, there's health. Unfortunately, you could hit the 5-man equalizer, they could chill on it, dance like the KT Bullets of old,
Look at
and
this.
still get away.
No equalizer, mid and jungle down. Gonna be an easy Baron for KT Rolster. Samsung deciding probably wisely not even to contest. And KT Rolster looking like they're gonna cruise to victory here, already about 12,000 gold ahead after being 3K down earlier.
Just insane how fast they came back.
You know, you think about the fact that, some days now 120 CS up. Consider that its mid lane is even, despite how much extra, or just a couple of CS behind, despite how much pressure Tilly has had. And Arrow's been the one to sacrifice CS. He's 50 behind his opponent, despite not dying and his opponent dying 4 times. And again, that's just rotations to get someday ahead, and that's just what KT does.
Yeah, and the answer has been, as we see, a result of what? Like 70 CS that have been picked up by KT that have just vanished for Samsung.
Very true. KT with that Baron buff now can just kind of push wherever they want. And where they want to push right now is all 3 lanes.
There's such a ridiculous advantage between these two teams now. The Gangplank was always going to be the prized scaler on the side. You don't talk about scaling. He's already a raid boss himself.
Yep.
He's where many Gangplanks can only dream of being. We talk about GP, and even though when he gets behind, he can come online by maybe 30 minutes, but
Well, maybe he's
Samsung-
dead now.
Oh, maybe he
Oh,
is
equalizer,
dead now.
yeah. He's gonna flash, gonna get knocked up, knocked back, knocked out of the game for the moment. But
Takes
that's
one
a
with
kill
him.
in the end anyway. Yeah, he takes an 80 carry with him. That's a pretty big pickup. Hachani and Score coming down in the 2v4
Oh!
round. Nice wall from Fly. Beautiful setup here as KT comes in to win this team fight. Crown gets in the back lines, but not able to do a whole lot on that Lissandra. Zonia is after he ults. Gonna get taken out anyway. There's a double kill for Arrow. Fly has to flash out of the turret damage. Score in the back lines. Wow, just going ham on these elites. Goes in for the execute on the helper. Why not grab another one onto Ambition? Nice cocoon. And Ambition will live for the moment. But KT looking like they may be ready to finish this one off right here. Although, Stitch coming up at 5, yeah, they can't quite end it yet.
With the 80 carry up and 2 low members, I think it's smarter just to back off right now.
Yeah.
Maybe could have ended the game, but it's just not worth the risk.
Well, they caught someday.
Well,
He really does the Stitch. Oh, hi. Thanks for putting me next to
He's
your
full
AD
health,
carry.
remember, and then dies to
Yeah.
2 autos and 1 hit from the cannon barrage.
I mean, Wraith was just like a Gangplank delivery system right onto Stitch there. That was some anti-support there.
Gets on top of Arrow, but is not doing any damage, especially onto Hachani, who had already popped that Taric ultimate. Score flash forward, misses the cocoon, but they're still able to get a dive. They have to back off as Helper uses Zonia's, but the Randuin's Omen enough to help them catch up to Helper eventually, especially with that deadly flourish, and they do leave Ambition alone underneath the 2 Nexus turrets. Fly now deathless in this game alongside Arrow.
Yeah, Arrow's been having a fantastic game on that Jin. On the other side, Stitch 1-5-2. So a bit of a perplexing roster decision by Samsung here in a playoff match.
I just feel like this means they have no idea how to beat KT.
Like
this is when you're just throwing darts randomly at a
looks-
dartboard with your players' faces on it.
It looks
Now
like
consider
giving
this.
up.
I can think of an interesting third game where they do have a third AD carry, guys. Core JJ's listed as support. I bet he could also play AD carry in the next game.
He was known to play AD carry once in a while back in the day.
He has switched over to support though, and that would be, I think, the last straw, because Wraith really does, and we've confirmed this in interviews with Samsung, play such a huge part of Samsung's shot calling that when we see Core JJ play, it's not just that Core JJ, who, he seemed to be okay, but the shot calling really did fall apart for Samsung in those
No,
games.
you don't get it, Monty. He could just play AD carry. Core
Okay,
JJ
all right.
could play AD carry, theoretically.
I'm sure they've been working on that.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta wonder what's gonna happen here. As far as Samsung's roster's next game, as KT comes in for an easy team fight, blows up Crown right away. Great Weaver's Wall again for Fly, just wrapping up Wraith and Ambition, allowing KT to move in and take out that inhibitor turret.
With his Cosmic Radiance early, could just stand on the Equalizer, not take damage, didn't even have to wait for a minion wave, and another inhibitor for KT Rolster.
Yeah, do you try to end here? Yeah, you might. Ambition's so low. Cocoon onto Wraith. I suppose you can do your due diligence and take
You try
all
for
the turrets.
Yeah, you just try for 3 inhibitors, and then you push as far as you can go. There's no threat that they take anything. Drake and Baron are down, so you see if you can end, but you don't overcommit.
Let's reflect here. Samsung got first brick. They got 2 kills on Sunday early on, and now here we are at 33 minutes with KT just in a massive, massive lead. Flash, double dazzle. Oh boy. Nice engage comes in for KT, and that is going to be more than enough to finish off Samsung. Wow, Helper just disappeared. And Crown comes back to life only to die again. Eventually, he will. There we go. And that is it. KT with a very convincing game number 2, and you gotta imagine it's gonna be a quick series. GG.
I think the fact is that KT showed that they can just comprehensively macro better than Samsung.
Oh, yeah.
And sure, probably a part of that is throwing in less experienced players in Stitch and Helper that may not know proper lane assignments. But in the end, KT, again, with the overwhelming map pressure, and whether it's the Aurelion Sol or whether it's the Talia, they just have so many ways to continue to shove minion waves and to just farm more.
Yeah, Samsung, nice early laning phase. I liked Helper coming in. He was convincing on the Rumble, but as you say, the macro play is just something that Samsung, unfortunately, they were shadowing KT at every opportunity. We saw this with Ambition and Scorer last time. This was just the whole team being out-rotated, watching Someday accrue huge leads. They were skirmishing 4v5 and having Someday pick up that empty farm. And that 25-minute, or just after 25-minute Flame Horizon lets you know, after that early laning phase, just how much KT outplayed Samsung on a map basis.
I mean, what can you say? KT just a better team, and look at that. Everybody, literally everybody on the team doing more damage than their counterparts.
Hey,
on,
Hachani's
Samsung.
on the team.
Well, it was sort of a lost
Johnny
cause.
did more damage too.
After KT wrestled the lead back so early, Samsung needed that 20 to 30 minute window to really take advantage of their composition.
And it was also the KT graph. 4 players did more damage than the highest member of Samsung.
Good stuff for KT. Not so good stuff for Samsung, and you gotta wonder what the heck they're gonna do in game number 3, who we're gonna see play. Who knows, man? Maybe Dade will make a guest appearance. I've
back.
come out of my Chinese retirement to play another game.
For you, Samsung.
That's right. Well, don't go anywhere, guys. When we come back, KT most likely will be closing out this series 3-0. Samsung, of course, still a chance to bring this one back, but it will be one of the greatest comebacks of all time if they're able to do it. We'll be back on LCK Summer here on OGN right after this.
Got a feeling that I'm going under, but I know that I'll make it out alive. Like we calling you my lover. Move on. You watch me beat it till I can't breathe. Shaking, falling onto my knees. And now that I'm without your kisses, I'll be needing stitches, tripping on myself, aching, begging you to
오늘 첫 방인데 떨리지 않아요?
이제 인터뷰 들어가겠습니다. 3, 2, 1. 유현출, 은정이 어딨어?
미아 발생. 조직 미아.
비공감이 쏟아지고 있어요.
은정아 어딨니? 은정아.
오늘부터 실종 전담반을 맡게 된 전용준이다.
용산, 상암, 해운대. 뭔가 이상하지 않아요?
사라진 사람들이 한둘이 아니야. 단서가 더 필요해. 단서가.
광주에서 발견된 실종자가 있었어.
기억이 나지 않아요.
민인이? e스포츠에 성지로 가봐야겠어.
용산이 아니라 상암이라고! 족보입니다. 강민이 자택에서 숨쉰 채 발견됐다는 소식입니다.
킹이 400을 넘고 있어요.
Don't forget, when I sign this, there's no going back.
결정적 단서가 될 것 같은데.
웃어?
오빠 오늘 버스 태워줄래요?
난 불온진걸.
일주일에 800, 한 달에 3,000폰.
캐시는 500.
전술들, 활성화, 석양. 거부할 수 없는 제안을 하죠.
막다른 못 먹겠어. 망할 라인에 가지 말랬지? 잊혀질 수 있을 거라 생각했어?
그럼 게임 한번 시작해볼까?
싸웠지만 잘 졌다. 강프닝 제작진이 선사하는 초대형 액션 블록버스터 OGN 실종 전담반.
Beat in sync with the fast track. All eyes are searching to the black. Jump back and get back a little more.
Hey, it's LCK Summer. We're back, and Fly grabs the MVP for his sick Talia play. Blowing people up, rocking them hard.
Wow, 2 MVPs in a row for Fly.
Yeah.
Here in the playoffs. That's actually quite impressive for for Fly. I mean, he did great on the Talia. I thought it was Arrow, but Fly certainly had a good game too.
And his Talia play, honestly, I think is a level beyond anyone else that we've seen so far.
For sure.
Play this champion. Faker has played it, but not necessarily looked as impressive as Fly, who has always had this unique champion pool. It's all about the Zillion and Spring, and the Talia is now becoming a must-ban for him. Didn't die this game, but man, he got close.
He had no health.
He also
had
had
no
no-
health left.
He also had no mana either.
Yeah.
So
He did have an auto attack, though.
He did have an auto attack. Once again, we can see here. Just taking Stitch out.
Ow. Yeah. Boing. Dead.
Shooting range stuff here from KT.
And once you get in range of the Cocoon and the Dazzle chain, there's no getting out of that one, and Stitch really
dear.
looked off.
You can see why Rylai's is so important, that you have the Weaver's Wall available so often, and you chain that little slow into the W, into death. And speaking of death, this was KT just closing out the game.
Yeah, piling on 4 invincible members of KT, diving the turret. And Fly really showing up tonight. We've come to expect that on the Talia. We've come to expect that on the Vladimir, but
Oh boy.
It's time for another roster swap.
I can only imagine what it may be this time around.
well, Ruler's back. I see
look so
Ray still,
excited.
so
All right, it's Cuvée and Ruler, they're back. Okay. So back to the Game 1 roster, and we'll see if these guys can pick it up a bit.
They didn't go full core JJ this time, Samsung. They hold on to that man, but I think this is probably the way forward. If you're going to play Ashe, why would you take out Roller? That was a real head scratch to me, and Cuvée had the good laning phase in game 1 if the team fight didn't quite work out.
Well, Samsung did not look too great with Stitch and Helper in. They didn't look too great with Cuvée and Ruler in. So what can you do?
Right.
What do you do here?
It's tough. They had leads in both early games, but they just couldn't keep up with the pace of KT. In either one, KT with the superior decision-making about when and where to fight on the map, routinely having a man advantage in a lot of these fights, and being more proactive when it came to making plays, and Samsung just falling behind little by little until it ended up with some pretty early Barons and no real hope of a comeback. So we'll see if Samsung is going to shy away from the early to mid-game composition they had last time, but
well, if they do that, they're going to need to play better than KT in the late game too, and that seems like it might be a bit of a struggle. Coaching staff entering the booths, and that means we are about ready to move into picks and bans for what could be the last game of the night here on LCK Summer Playoffs. And here we go, picks and bans between KT and Samsung. KT sticking with the bans they've been doing all night. There's the Varus at least.
The season on the line for Samsung. If they lose here, they will be out. They will be playing in the Worlds qualifier, so still big things to play for in a couple of weeks' time. But if they've got anything special, now's the time to show.
Yeah, now the Gnar out too. That Cuvée played for 2 solo kills on Sunday's Echo in game number 1 of this series.
Strongest banned.
So I assume GP is going to be the last ban here.
Yep. Yep.
So do they have to ban Echo here as the final pick? They're going to ban the Rek'Sai.
All right, I don't really know what that does. Ambition wants to take Elise, and they want to force Score maybe onto something. Well, usually Score would default to Kindred in this particular situation, but that has not been as successful the later we go into the season. So interestingly enough, Score hasn't had the biggest Trundle. Wow, they're just going to go straight for the Trundle here. Huh.
Here's a flex pick. Chani can obviously pick it up as well.
Well, this has been banned in the last couple of games by Samsung because they know Cuvée doesn't have a big carry pool outside of GP. So he's going to be playing some kind of tank.
And tank Echo, do you really think that's the way to go?
I mean, it has lane pressure in a lot of lanes. Of course, it's no guarantee that someday we'll be taking it into the top lane, the Trundle that is, so I think it's fine. It could be the Shen as the pick here, it's worth noting, as Shen is also available.
I don't think you're going to play Shen into the Trundle. They did that in their last match on Saturday.
They could play Shen into the Echo. That is an option for KT.
True. It's true. Now, are they going to take the Tahm Kench or are they going to take the Elise? Because Score will take that Elise. And why would you ban out 2 junglers when you're not going to take away Score's most played champion this season?
One can only wonder.
It's worth knowing that Gragas and the Rek'Sai have been a tier above the play on the Elise. Elise has been the most played, but I've been more impressed with those 2 picks in particular, and his win rate on the Elise only around 57 to 60%. But I take your point. If you're going to attack so hard, why not go for the denial pick? Feels like Tahm Kench and Braum are pretty interchangeable in their roles, so actually prioritizing the Tahm Kench. I don't know if that gets you the same as it did on 6-14 when Braum was disabled.
Yeah, I wonder where Ambition's going to be going now.
Italy?
It's
Finally?
possible. Italy, maybe. He's had a couple games. But with those 3 banned and or picked, Graves would be his default. That would be his next most picked in the summer.
At least Vlad picked up for KT, so Fly again foregoing the Aurelion Soul. Sticking with the Vladimir that he played in game 1.
I think you just stick with what's been working for KT. At this point, if you can just take out the series without showing any new strategies, it leaves you an extra couple of points against what looks to be SKT on Friday.
The Nami would be some good disengage, but then where would the Tahm Kench go?
Jungle, certainly a possibility. It's not outside of what is possible, but with the Graves locked in, that is certainly going to be the jungle pickup there, and probably Samsung going to be fishing for a karma.
No, don't do it. Well, part of me kind of says do it, but most of me says don't do it.
He gets 1 Draven a season, and he hasn't played Draven yet.
Yeah, you know, that is the scary thing.
Very good laning matchup against Sivir, but not realistic. What will KT go to?
I think the Shen makes sense. Okay, Shen, and will they actually log in the Cog mod? Lock in the Cog mod.
Gotta log the cog.
Log it in.
Yep.
All right, well, the Callista with the Trundle would be interesting.
Well, Callista, pretty
That
common
makes
counterpick to Sivir, as we've seen all this season. But so many options here available
Yeah.
for KT. And with the standard lanes, Draven is definitely not as bad as it used to be. Is it
like,
good?
Please let me play
Is this going to be the Arrow Draven
He
loss?
really wants the Draven.
Oh, it's Jin. Or is it? It is. Okay. Oh, I was worried there for a second. All right.
He gets one
I know.
Draven game to lose a season.
Not this season.
KT has to. They might violate his contract if he doesn't get to play Draven soon. I mean, Worlds qualifiers, I guess they could be playing
you got
in.
a chance there.
Yeah, there you go. So Victor, now typically with this style of composition with Graves and Sivir, we'd expect to see a Karma, but Victor would provide the more reliable wave clear.
Yeah, they're going to lock that in.
With Azir no longer his dominating self, I think Victor has been the most impressive performing champion for Crown, so I can understand going for it. I'm excited to see Graves on patch 6.15, in a patch that where first brick gold is so important. A champion like Graves that can actually wave clear and take down turrets in a strong fashion, I think could make a resurgence, and we're still very much in the early days of 6.15.
Yeah, any ranged jungler, but at least also fits the bill
Sure.
on putting down early lane pressure with the ranged auto attacks and the volatile spiderling. So they do Graves a little bit better, but at least also doesn't have to reload. So a bit of a mixed bag between the two. But Samsung going for a very standard composition here. Great wave clear, great team fight damage, good throughout all phases of the game. So while they went for, I think, a little bit more scaling in game number one, this time around, they've got some good early game presence at the very least.
I suspected this Shen pick. I thought they were going to take it. When they took Trundle first pick, you get a really safe Shen because now Samsung can't pick up the Shen because it's going to be shredded by the Trundle. Sunday was really good on the Shen in game one of their series on Saturday, and he's the big playmaker in the early game because they don't really have someone that can follow Stan United. Echo definitely doesn't have that much of an interrupt either, so we could see some big Stan United plays from KT.
Yeah, certainly could. Samsung fighting for their tournament lives right now. They need to start the comeback now if it's going to start at all. KT looking to close this series out and get ready to fight SK Telecom on Friday. We'll see who takes game number 3. It's go time. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift. Ocean Drake again as we go into KT Rolster versus Samsung game number 3.
3 out of 3 Ocean Drakes to start us off. Well, Samsung, this is just, what do you say, pure comfort picks. Victor, Sivir, Graves. Of course, Ambition, probably his best champion on the year overall. Really did a lot of work with it in the spring season.
He hasn't played it a lot in summer, but is 3-1, so it's been good performances from him anyway.
It is his 4th most played, and when the other 3 were banned and or picked first, we do see him sort of revert back to that.
You know, we've also seen Samsung get pretty much completely outplayed in every way tonight.
Surprised to see QV not go for the fervor of battle. It was understandable in game 1 that someday in a difficult lane matchup went grasp, but against Shen, why not go for the extra damage? Not worried about the trades not going your way as much as you are in the Echo versus Nara matchup.
Well, I mean, does that say a lot about QV's confidence right now? I think it probably does.
He's a tank-minded player. He doesn't look for the big dominance in lanes, so I take your point. Grasp does fit his identity, but certainly not going to apply a lot of pressure to the Shen.
Oh, but he does have to end up being probably more tanky in this game with the Graves in the jungle. Otherwise, it does leave the Tom Kench alone, so Trinity Force. Now, obviously, that would be better against the stat stealing from the support Trundle, from the Chani, but not really ideal when it comes to that 5v5 team fight that KT's going to have. KT really doesn't have a good target for Shen, though. No distinct or Vlad. Yeah. Hey, maybe. But no Sivir this game to really power up that Vlad and help him get into the back line. So
I mean, at the end of the day, there's not that much peel for the Jhin, and you might think, well, Shen ultimate, but realistically, the best way to peel for Jhin is for Vlad to Ghost Flash, Proto Belt, Shen ult on top of the enemy team and have
Very
Jhin,
true.
you know, multiple people having to try to peel them away. So I think very much Fly is going to be the target of the Stan United this game.
Peel by aggression.
I have to say that I'm not the biggest fan of the KT comp. His score actually gets that crap stolen.
Yeah, and he takes a lot of damage too from Ambition.
Oh.
Has to flash over the wall. Whoa.
Tricky by Ambition there,
Yeah.
just triggering the Drake and seeing if it was going to finish him off. Score now.
Welcome reward.
Is it the red buff? Ambition may be able to take this, but
Ambition finds Fly now. Doing
Red
a little bit
buffs
of
for
damage, a
everyone.
little bit of trading. Yep.
I definitely would have preferred a Lucian or a Sivir here for KT, just because everybody else from KT probably going to be going in, and Trundle not the best realistically at peeling. For an AD carry, not compared to a Tahm Kench and not compared to a Braum, so he's mostly there just to make Cuvee squishy and get him very quickly killed. But with Shen and Elise and Vladimir all trying to get into the enemy backline, Arrow might be left high and dry.
Cuvee just TPing back to lane against his Shen. Trying to keep up on CS.
Shen priority went up in 6:14, and with the teleport changes, when you compare the Stan United channel time of 3 seconds to 4.5 now on teleport, and then you think about Cuvee trying to have an impact in the team fight, and you're talking about a 4.5 second teleport into a 2.5 second arm time on his W. That's already 7 seconds. So.
And that's assuming he hits the parallel convergence too.
And think about how much more Shen is doing during the 4-second difference between the two when he's getting the taunt in and potentially doing some damage as well. It's definitely a match that amplifies the advantage of the Stan United over what Cuvee can provide with the Echo with TP.
Definitely. Something that Samsung's going to definitely need to play around a bit. But for now, things staying a bit on the passive side, but we're passing that 5-minute mark now, so the protections for the top and mid turrets are going down, so we could see that lane swap come in.
I wondered about a champion like Jhin. If we do continue to see more and more lanes swapping, of course Jhin has struggles trying to push lanes against opponents like Ashe or Sivir, so could see some crazy arms races in the future where, you know, wave clear on the AD carry is paramount to staying competitive, but again, we're very much in uncharted territory on 6:15.
Haven't really seen anything that blows our mind yet in terms of strategy, just kind of boring standard lanes, as I like to call them.
You like that?
You're a standard lanes hater, Monte Cristo.
I definitely am. They're significantly less interesting than lane swaps.
Well, I just don't like teams being pigeonholed into a certain style of play.
Of course. I mean, and this is, in Korea, we already had the lowest rate of lane swapping out of any of the major leagues in the world, so we got to see plenty of standard lanes here.
Yeah. But the war on lane swaps continues.
That's right.
Well, Fly taking a lot of damage from that Chaos Storm. He's going to have to back off.
Doesn't want to ghost or
Ooh,
flash,
wow.
but wow, takes the extra tick now. Is at 100 health, so probably going to be forced out of lane. Could have just ghosted. Would have had that cooldown back up in 3 minutes time.
Yeah, kill pressure from a Victor Graves gank when you still have pool and flash up is not very high. So
We're getting low enough that he could just pop the ultimate over the wall and killed him, though.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, just go ahead and use it, because even if you come back in the lane without Ghost, it's not very scary to face Ambition and Crown, because you have things that can just not even take, allow you to not take the huge, admittedly, burst damage in the first place because they don't have the crowd control.
Staying in lane.
Still sticking around for the moment, yeah. Not showing himself until the minion wave gets right to turret. Slowly get health back, I suppose.
All the CS.
I mean, he has the Doran shield, too. So.
Yeah. Now going back, finally.
Yeah, but his tardiness on the recall is going to cost his team a blue buff.
So he's going to try to steal this blue buff away, though. Coming in, and he gets it.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Vlad doesn't need the blue buff in the early stages of the game.
was a bit lazy from Samsung. They could definitely have warded that brush. I guess they had no wards up on reflection, but usually you check that brush before you go for a blue buff steal.
There's also no, you can also easily check that brush with your face because either there is a 0 HP Vladimir in there or he's not there at all at in base. So that is, I agree with you, Bob, a little bit on the sloppy side.
Someday keeping up in CS with Cuvée for now.
When Someday's played this top lane Shen, he does love building the Tiamat into the Titanic Hydra, so he does lane pressuring. He does like to lane pressure as Shen, so that aggressive route.
And it will be a tank Echo build here for Cuvée, trying to provide the front line for the Graves, since Ambition not going to be playing a frontline jungler this game, instead heading back over to his jungle roots this year. And he has been really good at team fighting on Graves.
Absolutely.
Armor is the main stat that Cuvée will need. Iceborne Gauntlet probably going to be the first source of it, but he needs to be the one to run at Jhin and stop Jhin from channeling damage, because everyone else is probably going to be kiting backwards. Graves, Victor, and Sivir have to kite back when Vlad charges in with that proto belt and aggression, but if they can get onto Jhin, at least they'll reduce a lot of the physical damage from the side of KT.
Well, Score finds Ambition. Can't really do much to save those wards since Fly is so close by.
Yeah, 2 pink wards down. It's a nice pickup for KT. Yeah. On that Drake when things are really going to start looking to control and contest that objective. Someday keeps hanging back in the lane, seeing if it's going to be needed for a Stand United, especially with Score.
Ambition.
Yeah, trying to prevent Score from taking that blue buff. Here comes the Stand United, though. Ambition already used his ultimate. Wraith and Ruler coming up to try to save their jungler. Someday over the wall, but he finds himself in a 1v3. I think KT's going to have to be satisfied with that blue buff. Cuvée, yeah, looking a little bit risky, moving towards the river like that, but he's going to be okay. Now Samsung coming back in again. I don't know if they can quite find anything off of this. No, they're just going to have to give up their blue buff.
And KT wanted to pull back right there because ideally now that they know that they've blown Cuve's TP, they just want to pressure again with Sunday, then go for the Drake.
Right.
So if Samsung couldn't convert that into an actual advantage and a kill and then take the Drake, now KT's going to have the edge, but here we go.
Yeah, Someday chasing. They really want to get this, or Crown rather chasing. They really want to get this kill, but they can't.
No hard CC, even though there would be big damage coming through from the Victor, had his Chaos Storm available. He just couldn't hold the Shen in place. They knew his flash was still up. Score snuck in here.
Nice pillar on the Ruler. Wraith is going to save him, though. There's a flash. Oh, Cocoon dodge. Nice play by Wraith. They're going to keep going, though. Ruler uses the On the Hunt to try to get everybody away, but Wraith is still going to die under the turret. First blood goes over to Arrow, and KT backs off victorious.
That's the play KT was looking for. When they backed off of the Drake after taking the blue buff. Just keep on going and try and take that advantage with the teleport you got out of Cuvée. And Samsung just a little bit cocky there, too far forward. Ambition's going to try and equalize with that first brick gold, though.
Yeah, they're going to get it too. So Samsung finding their own source of income here.
An extra 275 gold across the team, so it's not First Blood's 400 gold, but it does answer a lot of what went over to KT.
As long as KT also matches with a turret, which they're not going to.
Nope, not quite yet. So KT, for the third game in a row, finds themselves down a little bit early on, but we've seen what a big swing can happen in, around 15 to 20 minutes usually. KT's been bringing it back in a big way. So we'll see if they can do it again.
Nice counterplay, though, from Ambition in the top lane. Making the most of it, considering that Someday never even went into the top side to clear out the wave after getting chunked out by Victor and Echo. So nice push there.
The unique thing about Graves is that, in the early game, a Runeglaive Elise will be able to do decent pushing with the W and then good turret damage, but you're just going to be stacking AD as Graves, so he's going to be strong in the pushing game all game long. And smart rotations like that do keep Samsung ahead this game. It's 1,300 gold and could be an Ocean Drake as well.
Yeah, looks like they'll probably get it.
Someday has Stand United, but nobody else set up right now from KT to contest.
Imagine a game where Samsung got a couple of Infernal Drakes in the last 3. They've been really good at controlling the early Drake, but the fact that it's been Ocean every time is frustrating. It's going to be once again Cloud as second, so staying away from Infernals mostly this series.
We've seen no Mountain Drakes at all, and only 1 Infernal now in 3 games.
Yeah. It hasn't been the best series for high-powered Drakes. So, once again, Samsung in a little bit of an early lead, KT a little bit of an early deficit, but it hasn't mattered yet. What does Samsung need to do to make this lead count for something now?
It's not much of a lead is the problem. There's not really a way to snowball up this particular amount of gold.
Well, they find Kube, though, in the jungle. He could be in trouble. He's got his flash. He's got his ultimate to try to stay alive with. Trying to back off. Score chasing a Cocoon might do it. Here comes Ambition. Yeah, disrupting the vision, and it looks like Kube is going to barely escape with his life.
You don't want to follow into that choke point with the Chrono Break and the collateral damage are still up. But some pretty poor missed skill shots from Score this game. His Cocoons have not really been on point so far.
Chani, smart on the roam, froze a minion wave as his mid laner roamed, and there's one of those minion waves that Samsung would have missed out on. The KT's rotations in the early game allows them to get access to it. It's not a massive point, but each minion wave adds up.
Oh yeah, sure. It's helped Fly, keep up in CS with Crown despite moving around the map a bit. Doing some damage to that turret.
Sort of things that a lot of teams around the world could, a little thing, but a lot of teams around the world could pick that up and make a strong team even stronger. CS, so important in the early game.
Ruler in big trouble. Might need to pop that. He does pop the ultimate. Still has a flash. Curtain call. One more shot might do it, but no. Hachani comes in for the kill anyway. He may pay for it, but the Sand United brings in Sunday. Nice taunt. Wraith, though, picks up Ambition to try to keep him alive. And here comes Score. Arrow following still. The pillar goes down, but KT, no need to chase that any further. You got the kill. You got the pressure on, so why take the risk?
Yeah, go ahead, even up the turret score there instead of overcommitting. That way you can get back into this game when it comes to gold. And somebody's got to go back to answer Kube anyway, who's about to slam a wave into the tier 2 turret in top.
Doesn't have a Sheen yet, or working onto any Sheen items, so it's only going to be chip damage, not going to be any chunking of this top lane turret. Sunday walks back into lane.
Yeah, nice use of the Stand United there. Wraith again. He's been good on this Tom Kench over the last few games that he's played it. And Ruler spell shields actually the dancing grenade right there, which set up the deadly flourish route.
Yep.
Wraith could have flashed Devoured, but it felt like the AD carry would be on 1 HP, so he decides not to use it, and now he actually has Devour to get Ambition as close to safety as possible, so probably was smart, despite the fact that he had to leave his AD carry stranded.
That might have ended up losing more. So, that will bring KT a little bit closer in gold to Samsung.
Yeah, didn't actually get that turret, so weren't able to equalize on that front. They split up and used that time to recall, get back into the lane, stop Kube from pushing any further and sacrificing any more minions into Sunday's tier 2 turret.
Yeah. So CS deficit actually for Arrow and Someday for now. Not a big one, but it is there.
Yeah, to be expected. Wave clear just not there for Shen, especially when he has to itemize for the Spectre's Cowl first. Then you are going to be losing the pushing war to a Sivir if you are a Jhin.
We saw Sangyun play 2 games of the Jhin, was actually playing BF sword related builds, Essence Reaver in 1 game and IE in the second as rushes, so bit of extra AD for wave clear, but Arrow has been sticking with the Yomu's build for the skirmishes and teamfight power.
So I feel like we're seeing a very similar game to what we saw in game number 1, where KT just waiting for that fight to just completely blow the game open. I suppose game 2 is similar in a lot of ways as well.
That fight's not as binary in this game. Worth knowing that Sivir Vlad have innate synergy, but Jhin Vlad have a bit of anti-synergy. Yeah. There is a world where this... Oh my god, is that a mini-stun? It is!
Yep.
Whoa, that worked. All right, Sand United coming in with a Johnny. They force a flash from Wraith over the wall. Teleport coming in now for Samsung. Crown kind of on his own, gets emo plagued. Arrow chasing, there's a bouncing grenade. Gonna be happy with the damage. Meanwhile, Ambition coming in the backlines. KT turns on him though. Ambition exhausted as he goes into the wall, gets chased by Someday. Arrow looking for the kill in the backlines, way in the back of that fight. Fly low, but still alive. Nobody's died quite yet, but Someday will. Wraith gets the kill. I shouldn't have said anything. I jinxed it. I'm sorry, Someday.
Licked to death over the wall.
Licked him.
Just licked him into the next life.
So that started so bad for Samsung. With the pillar position, it was actually a 6-second stun onto Ambition. He had nowhere to go. His dash was down at the time. But Wraith spared the blushes, got in, the Devour open space. Picked up a nice kill as well, so could have been much worse for Samsung.
Oh, spell shielded. May not have even hit anyway. I think it did get spell shielded by Ruler.
Yeah, even though Crown got isolated too, he had a quick flash there to reposition himself. He also dodged the deadly flourish from Arrow at the end as he disrupted the curtain call. Arrow turned on him but couldn't land that, so well played by Crown.
Dragon is up. It's Cloud Drake. KT fighting from behind again.
Which is weird because they've been the #1 team in this league, a gold lead at 15 minutes over the course of the season. They have been struggling in that category more or less in the last couple of games.
And in previous seasons, that was definitely not a stat that KT topped. KT traditionally did have that weaker early game and scaled into strong team fighting. That's why it's unique that this season they tightened it up. Most of that was a score and all his heroics when it comes to First Blood and his synergy with Someday. This seems to be a bit more of the old KT where they can really have that slow ramp-up time, but we've already seen it twice this series. There's always that watershed moment 25, 30 minutes in where they can also gain the maximum, get kills, Baron, and multiple turrets.
I don't know if I would call the ramp-up time slow in the last game where by 25 minutes the GP was hugely ahead. They managed. I would say they're managing to turn that a little bit earlier in these games, maybe the 20-minute mark where they find the team fights they want.
Samsung maybe finding their second dragon in the game. See if KT wants to contest. I suppose they probably can.
They're the ones with the TP.
Yeah, they could go for it, but looks like they'll give that one over. Cloud Drake going to Samsung.
Ocean, Cloud, Ocean.
Yep.
Wow.
It's rough.
This has been a very odd series for Drakes.
Scripted Drakes.
Just want KT to win, I guess.
You seem okay with that, Monty.
I'm just surprised that all of these early game Drakes have really broken more in favor of KT.
Yep.
Ghost pop by Crown.
Yep, has to use that summoner. KT collapsing down on the bot lane. There's a pillar onto Ambition. He's a little bit trapped. There's the exhaust. Gets picked up by Wraith. Gets slowed right away. There's a cocoon. Wraith backing off. Here comes the Sand United. Someday entering the fray and fly from behind. This could be a kill onto Ambition. Wraith here. Looks like it's probably going to be. There's one for Arrow. Looking for another. He doesn't get it. Goes to score instead. Crown, meanwhile, finds the kill onto Someday. So they do go 2 for 1, and Kube getting some serious time with that bot lane tier 2.
Yeah,
or top lane tier 2.
Yeah, Kube has just been farming up a storm because he can't answer Someday, but at least he's getting something every time Someday goes cross-map. Hasn't been relenting, and even though he's been on the, Spirit Visage first Echo build, still managing to create the pressure.
Finally got the Sheen, which gave him that little last oomph to finish off a second turret. Notable that the only 2 turrets in the game have been Shen's turrets, kind of reminiscent of when you have TF mid and he loses both his turrets, even though he has that global pressure. Cuvée hasn't responded. They went 2 for 1, which isn't the worst trade in the world when you're picking up an inner turret, so advantage Samsung again.
And in spite of that pressure, just KT cannot get that outer turret in the bottom lane. They keep getting kills, but that is not the same value.
Ooh, gotta be careful here, Wraith. Losing some health. Still has that flash, I suppose, if he needed to get away. Yeah. Arrow powering up on this Jhin, too.
He's got 100% kill contribution so far, playing well. Yep. His teammates playing well around the curtain call.
Samsung, though, probably in the best position they've been in all night to win a game. We'll see. Curtain call. All right, Achani looking for a block with that pillar. Gets it. Ruler has to block damage for Wraith. And here comes Score from behind, but it's a bit disjointed. Looks like they might be able to get the turret, though, in bot lane.
Someday has teleport. We'll have Stand United very soon. Hard to tell the cooldown on that cooldown bar, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's, that icon makes it hard to see when Shen's got his ult up. Cocoon on to Ambition.
Trying to poke them off. Arrow reluctant to walk up to the turret right now. They do know where Victor should be, considering they've got vision in the river. But still nothing, and looks like proxy farming is going to be the name of the game for someday.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no more minions on that side, so Echo making a trip through the jungle.
Someday starting to catch up in CS a little bit.
Here we go.
Yep. What does he have to?
Still Echo shows himself. I guess this is what we're going to be dealing with here.
When you have no turrets in your lane, it's so hard to have pressure. This is literally the only way they can have top lane pressure, is to be like, well, I'm over here, I'm being obnoxious. Someone needs to respond to these minion waves. So we don't see dirty farming too much in the current meta, but it's cool to see the return.
Here comes Crown, though, going to get spotted over the wall. Yeah, Someday going in, going to get caught on the edge of that gravity field. He's in trouble. Chaos Storm comes in. Fly there to protect his top laner, but Kuve looping around from the bottom. Someday may just be dead. Here comes Score to try to save him, though. Yeah, and Crown gets away barely.
Yeah, Crown got chunked out by the Hemo Plague as both mid laners blow all of their summoners in that play.
Wow. Fly, though, coming out the better, able to go back to lane and put some pressure on the turret.
Fly's been great this series.
Yeah, he has.
Really stepping up in these playoff matches, because Someday has been struggling, at least in the laning phases of some of these games, and has been missing quite a few taunts in this one so far. And they need Score and Someday to start hitting those skill shots if they really want to maximize their advantage in these skirmishes, because those missed skill shots have now cost them probably a couple turrets.
Yeah. The curious thing to see is that he was hitting, taunt flash after taunt flash when he played the same matchup a couple of days ago, and what's been notable is he hasn't been flashing. He hasn't been extending the range of those taunts for engages. Perhaps that's just not trusting that the damage is behind it to make it worth the investment, but
I just don't think he's had teammates around to really capitalize on it this game yet.
Seems like that's the way.
Like
Well, he's missed on some of the dives, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he comes in with the Stand United.
Pushing over the wall. And about 45 seconds until that Ocean Drake comes up now. You can see Someday, though, still able to push Cuvée back in the 1v1. Down about 50 CS, though. It's a pretty big deficit. Now about 40, I guess.
They haven't been prioritizing his farm this game. They've been prioritizing making plays, which has been good for kills, but not good for...
Chaos over Fly. Fly has no summoners right now.
This guy has Hemo Plague.
Yeah, he's going to live. There's Ambition. Score right there, though. Cocoon onto Ambition. Fly, can he come in and maybe turn this into a kill? Looks like they might be able to do it. Deadly Flourish, pretty good. Tom Kench comes in, but he comes in a bit too late. Nice pillar. Forces a flash from Wraith over the wall. And a good set of moves. Oh! Nice curtain call from Arrow. Gets the snipe. And that's going to lead to KT's first strike of the game.
That was so patient from Arrow, waiting for that last shot and letting some of the minions die into his turret. Ruler did not expect the curtain call to still be rolling at that time, and Arrow finds that last bullet and gets a kill to secure the Drake.
I was going to say that could also open up this turret. It will. So that gold lead that Samsung's carried for most of the game is suddenly gone.
Yeah, this was just Ambition. He thought he was clear to go defensive. Remember, this is his own side of the jungle, but Score lining it, waiting for the pick, gets it, and then Ruler. This is actually the Duskblade proc coming through, and he needs to hit one of those last shots. He flashes and still dies. Oh. Nice accuracy from Arrow. The Hachani has been really on point with the Trundle pillars as well. Not normally a skill you have to talk about too much. There's not much skill cap on the support Trundle, but he's been clutch a couple of times, no more so than the wall stun on Ambition.
Yeah. It's working out well. Someday still able to push Cuvée back in top lane, at least, keep him from getting over to the inhibitor turret.
What I loved about Arrow in that last play was hitting the...
Deadly Flourish, followed by the Hemo Plague onto Crown. Crown still with no summoners anymore. He used the Ghost, but it wasn't enough. And have we begun to see the turnaround from KT? Is this where it all goes wrong for Samsung?
Fly's picked up a couple MVPs tonight, but Arrow's accuracy on the W and his ability to set up those picks has been really strong for KT.
Yeah, the Jin pick has worked out extremely well.
And what I liked about that last play was he hit the deadly flourish, and then he read Ruler. He said, Ruler's going to respond to this. He's going to try and actually save his teammate. So he actually reversed the direction of the curtain call, knew his teammates could kill Crown, and then turned it, or Ambition rather, then turned it around to actually just prevent anyone else from joining that fight and make sure they maintained that man advantage and still picked up a kill of his own.
Comes back to the communication that KT have been really good at.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, it was all about Samsung being really clutch on target selection, but this series, KT's been on another level. And to your point, though, I think in 25 minutes when they got those first few kills, now another pick, it does feel like the scales have definitely tipped towards KT.
I mean, it's still a close game, gold-wise, turret-wise, but yeah, I mean, you can just feel the momentum start to shift a little bit more than anything.
Well, it's just that over time, as we've seen in this series, KT just makes better decisions.
Here comes Tom Kench.
Arrow's tanking turret.
Yeah, teleport, bringing Cuvée down to the mid lane as well.
Wow, you really didn't want a TP right there.
Yeah, that was a bit awkward.
And Cuvée was really smart in the early game. Got one turret, got two turrets, but now he keeps entering top lane. Just doesn't really do anything. He's not going to split push and inhibit a turret.
He has a wit's end, actually.
Wow, he does.
In this game, which is not something that we see on most Echo players. As a result, we'll talk about that in a second.
Well, Wraith may be in a lot of trouble here. Ruler, Hemoplag onto him. Ambition coming from behind, force a flash away immediately. There's another kill for Fly. Jin picks one up as well. Exhaust on the Crown to make things go even more in KT's favor. Cuvée doing what he can, but he's kind of on his own. Arrow avoiding the Chaos Storm. Score does go down. A kill for Crown, but Cuvée, his smile is going to turn upside down. No, actually he lives. He's going back in. He might still die. There's a kill for Fly. Why is everything rhyming right now? Cuvée running for his life. And KT looks like they've had enough. They're going to go for the mid lane turret. That's life.
That's life. Sometimes it just runs.
I guess so.
That time, actually, the taunt flash came through. Was on point from Someday. Almost snipes out Cuvée, actually, but he would have had the health bar to survive, but outer turret goes down. Suddenly, two turrets got up. Curtain call.
Oh, Cuvée.
Oh,
one more. Goes back in. Predicted.
Well,
bye. Get out of here.
That's about the appropriate response for that outplay from Arrow.
I'm out after this game.
My people need me. I must go.
Arrow's been great tonight.
I'm the man.
He's probably going to get the MVP this game. Still at 100% kill contribution.
506 on that.
30 minutes.
Yeah, that Jin. Wow.
But the wit's end. Let's talk about that.
Sure.
Obviously, if you're going to be in the 1v1 with the Shen, being able to stack up his passive, the Z-Drive Resonant. Oh, God.
Yeah, whatever. Let's watch this replay.
I mean, this is all about a pick onto Wraith. It's another fight where Arrow's pretty safe. Nice taunt flash. First one of the game from Someday. Ensures the kill onto Ambition. Even though Crown unloads onto Arrow and zones him from the rest of the fight. When you're the ones making the aggressive move, it doesn't matter that you don't have peel for the Jin when it's 3v5 to begin the fight.
Yeah.
So, nice numbers from KT. Arrow able to come back and join. They get the kill onto Crown with another deadly flourish from Arrow. Casual makes it look, but nice stuff from KT.
Well, he waited for the face dive from Cuvée, then popped the Yomos and the flash just to get the flank. And then with the curtain call coming back up, saw some impressive play. But yes, the wit's end. Now, if you have, obviously it'll get you that passive stack up faster, which increases your ability to trade while shredding out the magic resist on the Shen, who only has one MR item right now. So with Cuvé's damage and the Iceborne Gauntlet, that's going to be a pretty good thing to have. It also sets up Crown for big damage in some of these team fights on the back line if he can land a good death ray. But on the whole, not a big fan, I have to say.
Ambition, gets majorly chunked out as he gets cocooned underneath the turret. There's the
call.
Call again. Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, I think South Korea sent the wrong person to the Olympics. I think the most accurate shooter we have here is Arrow.
I don't know, they've already won all the archery events.
That's true. I guess they're not doing that badly. Cuvée. Yeah, the most accurate arrow was left in Korea, though. There we go.
Well said, though. Well said.
That's right. Well, there goes the inhibitor, and that may be the end of the series in 5 to 10 minutes is what I meant to end that sentence with.
Don't get excited, Doa. Ambition's still up at 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They'd like to get a Baron before they
know.
finish this game, but
I
still
know.
KT cracking the base without a Baron, a testament to the poke damage that they are able to do with the very, very, very fed Jhin.
Yeah. Someday just disrupting people to make sure his teammates get out with the recall.
Plus the passive on the auto attack when Someday gets lower does magic damage on that missing health, so at least there's some synergy again there with the magic to shred. In a different game, it might be an interesting item. It's very, very cheap as well for an offensive item, but it's not going to make the difference in this particular one.
No, I think, and especially because it really is more about the 1v1 than it is about the team fighting. And right now, KT is in a position where they can just force the Echo to team fight every time. So there's not going to be any split push pressure. Someday we'll be easily able to clear out a wave with the Titanic Hydra and then just run into a bush and threaten to teleport or stand united or just TP straight over to a Baron even. So I think that the efficiency of that item in this situation, if Samsung was really far ahead, I could see this being good, where they were the one dictating the pressure.
Speaking of pressure, KT pushing up the bot lane now. Already doing about a third of that turret's health and damage.
It's worth noting that a lot of the item efficiency is also gated on the multiple auto attacks. When you're stealing away stats and getting magic resist yourself, the item's very valuable, but in a fight before you get those autos down, not so valuable.
No, not at all.
All right, curtain call time, and KT on the run already. Score tries to go for a cocoon over the wall. Can't really wrap anybody up long enough.
Ambition run away.
Oh, that was a close one.
Wraith ready for that?
Yep.
When 4 members, including your tank line, are zoned away the moment a curtain call is channeled, that's bad times for Samsung.
The whole team just panicked.
He does have 4 armor pen items already, so
does help. All right, that turret's going to go down. Crown trying to get away, gets saved
Dive
by Wraith
time.
yet again. That's right. Stand United brings Someday in. He'll tank a little bit of turret damage as KT takes the tier 2. And they can kind of just keep diving this.
I mean, the minion wave up top is going to be a couple of super minion waves hitting in about 10 seconds time. At the same time, they're super pressuring. It's going to be an inhibitor turret down in just another auto.
Oh, Fly. Gets a little bit low. Kube wrapped up by the cocoon, though. So he can't get in and punish that. Yeah, KT backing off for the moment. With Fly so low, it's hard to keep the pressure on. And they've done enough, you know? They can just go and take this Ocean Drake on the way out and maybe start getting set up for Baron.
man, so many triple Ocean
I
Drake
know.
games tonight. This is
Weird.
so weird.
Very odd.
No mountain in a series. That's a new one.
No mountain in 3 games.
Yeah.
And only 1 Infernal, which has been Cloud and Ocean left and right. But now with KT pushing out that top wave once again, and Victor having to deal with the super minions. Should be taking a look at this Baron first and foremost.
KT can just apply pressure. They don't even need 5 members to apply that pressure. You know, Score has the Guardian Angel, can walk up. Not worried about the damage from the side of Samsung. And they can probably brute force this game without a Baron, but it'd be basically a guarantee that we see the end game if that Baron was to be picked up.
Well, you're so close to closing this out 3-0 now if you're KT Rolster. I don't think you take any chances. I think you play it out methodically and you make a statement moving into the last playoff match against SK Telecom on Friday.
And I think,
yeah, third call. Ruler playing a little bit of DDR, has to use the on the hunt just to stay safe. Wow, that is bad for Samsung. Bye, turret.
and if you're KT, you really didn't even show anything in this series. They played it very standard with their champion pools that we all know that they play already. There were no surprises. So if they have anything else that they've been training up, they've been able to at least save it for SK Telecom or even beyond.
And I think the mid lane is probably the epitome of that, because last season they were trying to ram the Poppy Zillion as hard as possible. That was their 6th strategy. They didn't have a 2nd and 3rd string. 2nd and 3rd string's looking good. This could be
trying
it.
to go in. KT backing away. Hemoplague used by Fly, doing a little bit of damage at that, but not much. He has to back off, and Samsung doing okay at the beginning of this fight. Fly gets caught. There's Azonius. We'll see how long he can stay alive. A lot of low health members of KT, and I think they may have to leave off on this push for the moment.
KT just needed to go for the Baron. Now the
Never
inhibitor's
mind.
back up. Everybody from Samsung going back, but they will be able to rush out with the home guards, and so in the end, they're going to try and make a play.
Yeah, Kuve's going to TP right onto the pillar, though.
Now
Fly
that
is there.
Now with the changes to teleport and how it always teleports you onto the ward or the turret on the side closest to your base, making plays like that with the Trundle Pillar is now much more predictable than it was previously. So nice blocking play there from Hachani.
Juve was probably hoping that they could maybe get a straggler and take Baron. Speaking of stragglers.
Yeah. Well, Ruler just zoned out, I suppose. And if they do that, they prevent Samsung from even getting any wards down anywhere in their jungle, too. So
Plus they saved the Gromp.
That's right.
It's a Gromp saving play.
Hashtag save the Gromp.
How many games this series have Fly and Arrow not died?
Oh, speaking of dying, Kuve in a lot of trouble here. He's got the flash, gets really chunked out. That's a kill for Fly. KT, now that the top laner is down, can really put a lot of pressure onto the mid lane, or they can just go take Baron, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you go take Baron right here. TP's already down, even if you do take long enough that he is going to revive. There isn't any way to get him into the pit quickly. Fly on the hunt right now with the sweeping lens, and someday going for naked inhibitors.
Yep, that works. All right, it's a 4v4 as Samsung comes in, but someday joining with that Sand United. Fly gets into the back lines already. A lot of damage onto Ruler, and he is going to get destroyed. KT continuing chase. Nice deadly flourish onto Wraith as he's going to sacrifice himself, going deep into the enemy jungle. Now the great ambition chase, and he's going to get killed by Curtain Call. Arrow with another kill there.
Goodbye.
Wraith ulting out. Can he find Crown? Nope, not in time. Crown will die to score. And now it's time to take the Baron.
I mean, there were no good moves for Samsung. Their teleport player had died. There was going to be the backdoor of the inhib by someday. So KT walk at Baron. Samsung have to make the play at Baron because they have no way of stopping the inhibitor. And the kills, and then the Baron will come through. So KT, 19-0 if they take this one down against Samsung since the start of 2015.
That is so ridiculous.
It's just a bizarre situation that, we end up with this in the playoffs too. Two teams that played each other just a few days ago, and KT looking just as strong as ever. Let's watch that Baron fight again.
Yeah, KT doing the right thing and turning here. They actually really do want to fight, of course, in the 4v5 if they can. Samsung knows they have to engage or they're going to lose absolutely everything. So Crown does what he can, but someday here on the zoning duty, just getting ambition away from this team fight. And he can just tank forever. His only job really is to walk at ambition until he gets that taunt. Curtain Call ends up getting the kill. One last shot onto Crown that gets a slow, which someday
Deadly
here,
flourish as well.
Yeah, can follow up. And well, gets one stun, but score not in time to get that second stun before he's able to pick up the kill.
Yep. And now that's a nice, comfortable 12,000 gold lead for KT Rolster, and they are looking like they're in a great position to close this one out in the near future.
The exciting thing about this series is that Fly and Arrow have been the most impressive carries for KT. Someday's done a job. He got some farm on the gangplank, but it's been Samsung to some degree muting the advantage in the top lane that KT have, and KT respond with their mid lane and AD carry, who can go missing in some series, showing up big in this one.
Yeah, Silver Ultimate used as KT tries to make a play that will end the game, and wow, Arrow just ends Tom Kench. Wraith going down so fast. Kuve trying to get onto Arrow in the back line. Not a problem. That Jin is...
You can't walk into that fourth shot right there.
No, you can't. All right, Ruler stopped up with the pillar. He's going to get killed.
1,500 damage, crit.
And yeah, I think that's about par for the course. So this looks like it's going to be very soon the end of the game as a great Kuve chase concludes. KT looking to finish this one off. Wow. You activated my trap. And that is it. KT Rolster will move on to face SK Telecom in the next playoff match on Friday to decide who goes to the LCK Summer Grand Finals. KT has made it every single time. Will they make it again here in 2016? As the Nexus goes down, that is it. KT will take the match 3-0. GG.
Had some really interesting telecom wars in the past, Monte Cristo, but this one's probably the biggest head scratcher because KT, 7 series in a row now, 19-0 lifetime against Samsung. They look so damn good, and I don't think anyone in the world has a true read on how good a team SK Telecom is.
Yeah, and they've been able to practice more on this patch in the dark, and in a meta where lanes are so important, we have some of the biggest, most talented laners in the world in Faker, Bang, and Duke. So if they can even just get ahead from the laning phase, we've seen how fast they can turn games and crush them and snowball. So they've been playing badly, no doubt about it, but with a week off to work on this and with some additional insight on their opponents, they may be able to take it still.
And Arrow, talk about an MVP performance. Yeah. What an absolute monster on that Jhin. And
we all voted for him in MVP in the last game, and Fly got it.
If he doesn't get it this time, he has absolutely been robbed.
Yeah, it was breathtaking stuff from Arrow. We've seen some great Jhin play. Loken had a couple of games. Maha had one of the most impressive deathless performances in a loss. But Arrow looked great here, and there's another pick that'll have to be considered as Jhin casually puts out 11,000 damage more than a Victor and a Vladimir. That's a number.
He was just so fed. But the setups, the zones that he was creating, and the ability to create picks were so key to KT's performance in this series. Arrow has been great. And really, KT this season did innovate using Curtain Call to zone people off turrets and just take the objectives. They were the first team in Korea to really do that in earnest.
I think Arrow was the first AD carry Jhin to actually start the Youmuu's build that's now become the standard as well. So Samsung on the other side of the coin. It's been a good season, their best season since the LCK started, but it ends here.
Yeah, they have. I mean, they took 4th place in this season. That's a dramatic improvement over not even making playoffs in the last time. They have a promising young AD carry in Ruler, and it's a team that has been definitely steadily on the rise ever since losing all 10 of their players at the end of 2014. That hurts so badly.
Pretty insane story. And Arrow very well deserving of that MVP for the final game of the night. 10-0 and 8 on that Jhin. Crazy, crazy game.
Good stuff. It was fantastic Jhin performances tonight, and yeah, we'll see if he's going to be getting that pick later on.
I think that's a definite one to look at for bans if you're SK Telecom, or just pick it yourself, I suppose.
Bang, an excellent player on the Jhin as well, and CS-wise actually, he was consistently behind his opponents, whether it was Stitch or Ruler. That was because a lot of the rotations by KT were around Someday, predictably. Ooh. The accuracy in this game was just breathtaking. Here he is, leading the deadly flourish and hitting it on ground.
Beautiful stuff, man. I mean, again, just the way he was able to hit those skill shots, and in a game where Score and Someday were kind of struggling a little bit early on to land their skill shots. Arrow really picks up the slack.
Yeah, he did. He delivered mechanically in a big way. Arrow, not afraid of walking up right here, especially with the stand united on him, and that's just chained straight into a taunt flash there. Someday. I
cannot wait until Friday. Man, that is going to be a great match, I think.
This was the fun one where snap back into the final shot. Boom, boom. And the last fight was the most amusing when Cubase ran at Arrow and almost died straight up to auto attack.
It's like, sweet, I've got this AD carry on his own. This is where I'm going to shine.
This is where you casually almost kill a full tank Echo with auto attacks.
Now we're going to watch Ambition die to a trap soon.
And 1,500 damage crit.
Boom. Whoa. 1474, baby, on
overkill.
And 4th shot.
All right, well, pretty amazing stuff for KT, and it's time for an MVP interview, I believe. And we'll send it over to Joel for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. Despite putting up a good fight in the early games, Samsung still couldn't beat KT as KT picks up a 3-0 victory, and we will have an interview with the entire team of KT squad. So give them a round of applause. KT, congratulations on your win. Someday, can you give us a comment on the win? It's really satisfying to win 3-0. But you know, I wasn't satisfied with my individual plays. But I think, you know, I have to give the credits over to my teammates who did a fabulous job today. We thought that Samsung could prove a comeback, you know, with the history of going KT's way, but you guys won in the end. What is the reason for you guys are still consistent in that? I don't know. We just have a lot of confidence when we come into a game against Samsung. But I think I really was carried by my teammates today. So something that we wanted to mention was Score, your battle against Ambition was something to really point out. And we always see that Ambition seems to be a little over-aggressive, and you really seem to take advantage of that. What were some of your thoughts on the game? Yeah, with Ambition, as you've said, he is very aggressive. And, if you get caught by that, it's really tough for you. But, at that right moment when you take advantage of it, you really do have a nice way to end the game. Is there a way that, you kind of have a way of knowing where Ambition is pathing in this jungle route? Is there anything you can share regarding that? But every time right before I sleep, I have a little image training that I do, trying to predict the pathing of what the other opposition jungler might take. And I think of creative pathing ways that I can do for myself, and it's something that I do as a habit. It's a bit of a secret, but if you see where the jungle mob is being killed on the opposite side, you kind of get a sense of where the other jungler is. So I think Score was being sarcastic about it being a secret. With Hachani, with the new patch kind of really emphasizing the standard lanes. How was the standard lane for you today? Today wasn't bad, but I think I just did my own individual part, nothing more than that. But we always see that Hachani does a really good job with this part, but we always see you dead in the team fights. Yeah, there was a situation where they could have killed Arrow, but they decided to kill me first. You would think that killing the ADC would be a profit for them, but they always start to kill me first. I don't know. I guess I just die easily. I think this is a situation where you really carried with your deaths, Hachani. And we can't forget to mention concerning your health on your feet right now. How is it right now? With the foot, most of the pains are gone, and they said, but if I have a week remaining on this pain, and I think I'll be fine with the injury.
Stylish.
This is a very suitable item that we saw with the Samsung teammates back in the day. If we can have a talk with Fly. You really showed an outstanding game today with your plays, and you picked up the MVP for the first and second game. I'm really satisfied with how I played today, and I think I really played up to the point that I really wanted to play, which got me the MVPs today. Another thing we wanted to mention, that your battle against Crown, and we seem to see from you very comfortable against your matchup against Crown. With the matchup, I wasn't trying to be underconfident but overconfident, but it was more the champion picks that I had picked out which gave me the confidence over Crown. Did you really think that your Vladimir pick was the right pick to choose in your situation? I just picked the champions that I was confident with at the time.
상대 조합이 중요하다기보다는 내가 자신 있는 플레이가
So you weren't really worried about the team composition, but you were just worried about what you were confident with. Yeah, I think that's what I was waiting for.
네, 그러면 두 번째 세트에서는 또 탈리아로 멋진 활약을
In the second set, you showed a very nice Talia play.
혹시 설명해 줄 수 있을까요?
And can you share a little information about the champion?
저는 좀 하기는 싫었는데 코치님이
Personally, I didn't want to play Talia in the second game, but the coaching staff kind of forced me to play it.
절대 아무한테도 지지 않겠다는 그런
But I have this saying of I will never lose a game when I play Talia.
하면 다 이기네요. 네.
요즘 자신감이 넘치는 것 같아요.
And I think I'm really growing in confidence nowadays.
오늘 그래서 크라운 선수와의 맞대결도 자신이 있는 상태에서 임하셨고. 네.
And I was confident against playing against Crown today.
픽이든 뭐 재밌어 하는 픽.
Well, regardless of the picks that he wants to play or don't want to play, he'll still get a win.
선수와 얘기 나눠볼까요?
And if we can have a discussion with Arrow,
세 번째 세트에서 멋진 활약으로 지인으로.
in the second set and third set, you showed a really outstanding play with Jin.
세 번째 경기요?
네.
In the third game,
돌이켜 봐도
if I look back,
여태까지 진
I think
게임 중에 제일
out of all the Jin games that I've played so far, this was definitely the best one I played.
정말 멋진 장면을 많이 만들어
You showed a spool of highlights with the Jin.
연습하거나 그런 건
Did you have a little more focused practice with Jin?
빈만 연습하거나 그런 건 아니고
Well, it wasn't necessarily a focused practice with Jin, but
가지고 잘 맞은 것 같아요.
but I was just kind of going with my instincts when I was shooting with Jin, and it turned out good.
쓰인다라는 얘기들이 나오고 있거든요. 이것에 대해서 혹시 다른 생각을 하고 계시나요? 어떤 재밌는 픽이나 더 전략적인 픽에
Is there any other kind of picks that you have in mind?
그 수합을 하게 되면 초반에 손해 봐서 라인전이 중요시 되잖아요.
But with the standard lanes nowadays,
상성 관계를 좀 찾아야 되니까
I think there's a need to search for a very good standard laning ADCs, and that's what I'm looking for.
네. 그리고 정말 개인적으로 궁금한 게
Something I'm personally curious about is
플라이 선수나 에로 선수에 대한 분석도 굉장히 많고
there's a lot of observations on the Fly and Arrow